You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
ECU, Pirate Nation, Purple and Gold family, stand to your feet, put your crossbones up, and lean side to side, yeah, and lean side to side, yeah, and lean side to side. Come on, yeah. Welcome to the island, man. It's crazy in here. A whole sea of purple and gold waving it.
Welcome into the Sports Objective tonight as Pirates lose 31-13 at home against Marshall. And I am Dave Richmond along with, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you, man?
What's going on, Dave? I just wanted to let you guys know I officially have more passing yards now than the ECU Pirates.
Okay, and I was going to tell you, Hall of Famer Kyle from LaGrange, the Hall of Famer for the fifth quarter. I loved your call last night. By the way.
Yeah, so did everybody else. A lot of people said Kyle's back. Unfortunately, I didn't want to have to be back in that way. I was hoping to never have to have those kind of calls ever again. So, yeah.
Bubba Rosenbaum, what's up, man?
You know, after a game like last night, I had to say some things, to myself, a little positive self-talk, to say, hey, things are never as bad as they seem. And, in some cases, never as good as they seem, but definitely the other end of the spectrum last night. But and going back and looking at certain things today, despite how bad we played offensively and despite, some mistakes on the defensive side, you were winning the game 13-10 with under 13 or 14 minutes left, had a chance on a couple of occasions to really make it a two-possession game and some missed opportunities, which we'll talk about here in a little while.
Yeah.
And Matt Semenza, by the way, they're looking at, hey, Matt, you're going to love this. So whenever there's a Pirate loss, you can go on Sundays to the ABC store, hopefully soon, where you can buy liquor on Sundays. So that might be a good thing for Pirate fans. After you lose on Saturday, you can go to the liquor store. What do you think?
Well, I could have used some last night, and I was extremely worked up after that game and during that game, and I tried to stay quiet last night. I tried to stay to myself a little bit because I figured, I'll wake up today, it's a new day, and I'll feel a little better about what I saw in that game. But the reality is I woke up today and I don't feel any better about it because that was a game we should have won. A lot of self-inflicted wounds. I thought there were some major blunders, not only on the players, but on the coaching staff as well. And, when you lose a game by 28, you just say, hey, we got our ass kicked. But when you lose a game like that and you know that you probably should have won the game, that's even more frustrating.
Yeah, what I've been saying, and what I don't, and nothing came to mind to Matt, and to Bubba, and I'll ask both of y'all, have y'all, Matt as a player, Dave as a fan, and Bubba again, if you can think of anything, I don't think I've ever seen a game that we've played in that it literally felt like we in the fourth quarter were getting ready to put the game away. We were up by 3. We were driving, getting ready to go up by hopefully 10 at minimum if you make the field goal 6. I don't think I've ever remember a game where it felt like we were about to put it away and then get blown out in a matter of minutes. Not lose. I've seen us still victory from the jaws of defeat, still defeat from the jaws of victory several times. I've seen us blow games, but I've never seen us go from getting ready to put a team away to getting blown out. And I'll tell you how surprising and drastic the momentum was. I sit right behind the bench, right on the opposing sideline. The Marshall players, their hands were in their heads were in their hands. They were out of it. They thought they were going to lose the game. And their reaction was so visceral. They reacted so insanely on the sidelines, talking trash to our fans after our fans really didn't talk trash to them all night. And I think it was because they were just as shocked as I was the other way around. They went from getting ready to lose the game to blowing us out. It was such a momentum swing in the fourth quarter. It's almost sickening.
Yeah, like I was saying, 11 minutes and change left. 13-10 Pirates, and on the verge of maybe making it 16 or 20-10, and they're in little less than 5 minutes of game action, we went from up 3 to down 18.
That's what I thought, the same thing. And also, guys, one of the things we can talk about, I'm sure, is how we were talking about we needed a trick play and all of a sudden Marshall did to us exactly what we should have done to Marshall. And I know we were talking about that during the game last night.
I literally had texted you that, Dave.
Yeah.
I texted you, Matt, and Bubba that in the group text right when we took over that possession that we missed the field goal on. I said I'd come out and if whatever gadget play we have, since we're having trouble scoring, I would run a trick play here to try to put the game away. And lo and behold, we didn't do it. We missed the field goal. Then Marshall does exactly what I said we should do. And there you go. By the way, Dave, go ahead and promote that up on the screen. We're taking calls.
Yeah, I want to let everybody know, taking calls tonight, 252-290-0375, 252-290-0375. Call in, and we've got, I believe, our phones working this week, so I appreciate your patience on a new element to the show, but it's a great way, especially, unfortunately, we have to do it to air out our grievances, I guess, kind of like Seinfeld, but you can do so, 252-290-0375. Guys, I really thought that I'm going to give my take on things really fast, and I want to pitch it to you to get your thoughts. I really believe that our coaching staff is very stubborn. I'm going to give Kyle credit because I believe it's been the last 2 seasons. You've talked about how we start out with a very conservative game plan, a very, very conservative game plan, and then finally, maybe a third of the way through the season, I don't know how many games it's been for both the last 2 seasons, all of a sudden we open up the playbook, and that's when things start getting better. So just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, you've seen some of that since he's been here, going all the way back to his first season. When you think about how we opened up the playbook in that SMU and Cincinnati game late in the year, and we're really aggressive offensively and almost pulled off back-to-back upsets going back to year 1. So I don't have an answer for. I don't think we were trying to be as conservative as it looked yesterday, guys. I know the plan was to run the quarterback a lot because Albany has success against Marshall, but there was plays in that game that Bubba and you pulled up one on the third down play right before we missed the field goal where there was a rub route where. You break it down. You can break it down better than me. Where there was plays that were there that we weren't trying to be as conservative as Mason made it look. Break down that play on third down right before we missed the field goal.
Yeah, that play, I believe it was actually the first play of the fourth quarter. Matt and I and all of us were texting about it earlier this evening over the last couple hours. And here in a moment, we'll have that screenshot on the screen here for our viewers. But the Pirates were in, I believe it was a 2nd and 6. Originally I thought it was 3rd and 6, but I think it was a 2nd and 6 situation. First play of the fourth quarter.
Ball. It was third. It said
okay. The graphic on the screen said 2nd and 6.
Yeah,
but it was third.
ESPN Plus had the graphic wrong, but it was 3rd and 6.
Okay, thank you. But that was. Critical situation, obviously 3rd and 6 at the Marshall 27 or 28 yard line. We were lined up in a 2-by-2 set, where it was 2 receivers to the field, and then a tight end and a receiver into the boundary. Ball was on the left hash, and we motioned Brock Spalding across the formation. And when we did, there we have the 3 receivers. We have the outside receiver, Chase Sowell. He ran a bit of a rub route there, and we'll have that on the screen momentarily.
Yeah, it'll be a lot better.
I know we're going to bring this up early in the show. Thought we didn't have a chance to get this produced. But anyway, there was excellent pass protection. Mason Garcia had time. And it's just one of those things, he felt as though he was getting pressure, but he had a nice pocket to step up into and make a throw to Chase. And what would have been a first down, and you'd have been looking. And he had some running room. Who knows? He may have scored, but at the very least, you'd have had 1st and 10 about the Marshall 15 there 30 seconds or so into the fourth quarter.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
it was a huge play too, because just to take that a step further, it's a huge play in that game because you think about it, guys, and I know we're kind of jumping forward here a little bit, but we have a 13-10 lead at this point. Critical juncture of the game. We're in plus territory. Okay. We're in business right now. If we can score a touchdown here, we're up 20-10. You have a chance to really kind of put a dagger in Marshall there.
Yep.
And we get in a situation on this play where it's 3rd and 7. And it's actually a really good call here. The rub route to Sowell. And Mason has him. He has him. But as we saw throughout the night, instead of stepping up into the pocket, Mason at this stage, inexperienced, he gets happy feet and he just immediately scrambles to his right and inexplicably, instead of stepping up in the pocket, and the whole play breaks down. And that was a critical, I guarantee you in the film room today, they talked about this play because it would have moved the chains.
No doubt. And appreciate that, Matt. We've got Chuck on the line. You guys ready to take him? Chuck from Charlotte.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Chuck, what's up?
Hey, appreciate you taking my call. I want to actually address a couple questions. The elephant in the room, obviously, is the quarterback situation. And I've been following Matt on Twitter, and, he was saying that, we get, and I tend to agree with him.
Thanks, Chuck. You're one of the few.
Chuck, you to finish your thought, or did you get disconnected?
Did we lose Chuck?
I think we have lost Chuck, and I believe we may have lost Dave also.
Yeah, Chuck, if you're still
Yeah,
watching, give us a call back here in a moment. But in the meantime, the screenshots now. There is the formation prior to the motion. With there you see Brock Spalding to the bottom of the screen. Mason Garcia motioned him across, and then this is, about a second or two after the ball was snapped, and there you see the route developing at the top of the screen. Chase Sowell is circled, or Soul, and then you have Mason Garcia. Good pass protection by the offensive line. There were some issues at times, but this was not one of those. And Mason had a nice pocket to step up into. He could deliver the ball to Chase there just inside the 25-yard line, but instead scrambled to his right and ended up throwing the ball away out of bounds.
Yeah, no, it's a shame because you pick it up there. It's going to be at least first down. You maybe have a first and goal. You maybe get it in the end zone. And instead, you have to try a field goal. And we all know what happened after that. We blew the game, and we all went to hell after that. But do we know what happened, Dave, with the caller there? Chuck got dropped. Dave, are we having technical difficulties again, or can we take callers?
We'll try to see it. I mean, I don't see why it didn't work. But let's see if we can get him back. All right,
Chuck, call back if you want to.
He's right. He's back with us.
Are you there? Hello?
Yes. Got you loud and clear, Chuck.
Okay, great. Like I was saying, I was talking to Matt via Twitter, and I asked him if
Dave, you're muting yourself. Take yourself off mute. That's the only way we can hear Chuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Matt, I asked like 1,000. 1,000% we start Flynn. So number one, do you think that we start Flynn at Appalachian? And also, I'm not saying that anyone's wrong or anything, but do you think like a 2-game sample size, and I'll ask a question to Matt because he played the game. Do you think a 2-game sample size is good enough to see whether or not you have a quarterback or not? And this, Mason Garcia.
Well, Bubba also played the game, by the way. He played quarterback at the college level.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, no, obviously not at East Carolina. Small college football. I finished up at Averett University, but yes, as far as Alex and Mason are concerned, obviously neither one in the coach's estimation has separated themselves. Clearly, they thought Mason gave us the best chance to win. Mike Houston said as much following the game last night in his post-game press conference. But that being said, I mean, kind of something I put in the comments section. We'll see whether this is more like 2012, where you had the Rio Johnson, Shane Carden situation, where Rio was the starter
Right.
against Apps. Sorry.
At South Carolina.
Yes, sir. 2012, where Rio started against App State, and then at South Carolina, and then Shane came in, and then it was all she wrote after that. It was Shane Carden's job, or if it's more like 2007, where Patrick Pinckney was. He started more than Rob, but Rob Cass definitely played a significant number of snaps and a key role. Games like UTEP and Boise State come to mind. So we shall see. I personally, based on what I've seen, and that's a very limited amount, obviously relative to the coaches. But I felt a little more comfortable with Alex at Michigan. But I think both have their role, and I think Alex is probably the better passer of the two right now, at least. And I think Mason definitely brings something to the table, especially running the football. And we saw Alex can run the ball pretty well a time or two, and showed some nice escapability and pocket presence there at Michigan.
Yeah, and
if they, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to kind of chime in on that, Chuck, if I was coaching the team, I would give Alex Flynn the start next week at App. Like I said earlier, when we were kind of messaging back and forth, I said 1,000%, and I just feel like he's more comfortable at this point. I feel like he has more command of the offense.
Right.
It just looks like everything flows more naturally when he's in there. So that would be my choice. Now, I think I want to just make it clear, like, I'm not saying Flynn is the savior. He might get the start at App, and he might have a rocky performance too. But I think you kind of have to just make those calls almost quarter to quarter at this point, not even game to game, almost quarter to quarter, and see who has a hot hand. And, it's interesting because when you listen to the press conference this week with Donnie, he basically said as much, that they were going to, rotate both quarterbacks. And I guess that was just to kind of throw off Marshall a little bit, and they never did that. And I was shocked because I felt like after one quarter, Flynn should have had an opportunity to come in that game. And I think it cost us, honestly. I think that decision cost us a win yesterday.
Yep.
That's why I was a little surprised. Like you said, Matt, maybe perhaps it was a little bit of gamesmanship, or maybe there was something that they saw in practice, and from a scouting standpoint that led our coaches to believe that, that Mason was our best option. But a little surprised that we didn't see Alex Flynn until there with about 6 minutes or so left in the game.
If you go back and watch that Albany-Marshall game,
Yep.
I think they probably saw what I saw.
That's what I was going to say.
Marshall had trouble stopping Albany's quarterback, the quarterback run. That's how Albany scored to go up 17-7. Well, on about a 50-yard quarterback run where he pulled it. And so I think that's what they thought Mason gave us that ability, more running ability than Flynn. But Flynn can run it.
Yes, again.
But the only trouble with Mason is he's scared. He's scared to throw the football downfield. And that's why you think you have to start Flynn. It doesn't matter how talented you are if you're too scared to show your talents. It doesn't matter. Mason Garcia is more talented than Flynn, but it does not matter because he's too scared to throw the ball.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why he got pulled early on at Michigan, and Donnie Kirkpatrick said as much. He said, we're not putting you out there just to simply hand the ball off.
Yeah, and guys.
Just one final question, and listen. Do you think what confuses me about Donnie Kirkpatrick is that it doesn't seem like he arranges, and Mike Houston for that matter, it doesn't seem that they arrange a game plan around a particular player's strength or weakness.
That's correct.
Why not try to do like an RPO with Mason, and then when we're running the football, instead of trying to run it up the gut between the tackles, run it on the outside against Marshall, or try like a screen passes or something.
And all we do is RPO.
Well, it wasn't working. Apparently it wasn't working. I didn't see most of the game yesterday because ESPN took it off like in early third quarter because of the lightning delay. So But,
Yeah, we pretty much all we do is RPO, and Mason is struggling with that.
okay.
He's struggling with
We're so
knowing
weak, can we?
when to throw the ball.
Mhm.
It really should be simplified. Somebody brought this up last night via text. It may have been Matt, it may have been
Yeah,
you.
it was me and you were talking about that, Kyle.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and explain that, Bubba, about simplifying the RPO.
Well, as far as now, obviously, I'm not in the huddle, not taking part in things, so I don't know exactly, but I do know what Donnie Kirkpatrick said about Mason as far as early on in the Michigan game, and there were some times where not wanting to make that mistake, and that we didn't take the throw that was there when we should have. We handed the ball off, and so perhaps that's something to be interesting to see moving forward. Make it a little bit more clear cut. Just call a run or a pass instead of having that option there.
All right. Anything else, Chuck? I appreciate your call, and
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time out for me.
of course, anytime. That's what we're here for, and hopefully we can have good results next week to talk about. That's the whole. We'll get into that in just a little while. We'll see the app game. I know, Bubba, a lot of comments tonight. A lot of people watching. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, it's probably because of the loss.
Dave, you might want to give the number again orally for anybody listening over a podcast feed.
Sure. It's 252-290-0375. Again, 252-290-0375. And a lot of great people were talking about, I know Jay is, Bubba, about the coaching staff. He says the coaching staff's stubbornness and inability to check their egos and put Flynn in cost us the Marshall game. And Jay, we have a lot of great comments, but that one stood out to me.
Yeah, and I can just about tell you what Mike Houston was thinking. It's tied. Mason ain't turned the ball over. We're gonna win this thing with defense and running the ball. Which, if Mike Houston has his druthers, that's what he's going to do. He loves winning with the running game and defense. And that's great,
especially once we had that wet field.
Exactly. You know what, Bubba? I told you this yesterday. I wish it wouldn't have been lightning in that monsoon, and we would have just played through the rain.
Yes.
We'd have won the football game. It would have been like James Summers against Virginia Tech in 2015. We'd have just ran Mason all night, and their quarterback really couldn't run, I think. But anyway, it is what it is. But that's why he left Mason in. You can't do that. You can't do that against that. We got to be able to throw the ball downfield against App.
Right.
Look, the chances of us beating App State, based on what I've seen so far, are slim to none, and Slim's on his way out of town. But you've got – this ain't 1920. You got to have a vertical passing game. If you ain't going to have a vertical passing game, then let's just friggin' run the flex bone.
Yeah.
And
I did not like that strategy. And that when you play that strategy of trying to lean on your defense, depend on your defense to win a game, that rarely works out for ECU. I mean, 9 times out of 10, we lose those games. We have to score points here. And I think that was a tactical error. And I think sometimes I think Mike Houston can get a little conservative by nature and call games very tightly. And I think that we don't have that type of defense here at ECU where they're going to win you a game, and it just always plays out that way. We don't get stops in big spots to win games like that. So we need to find a way to score points. And
the only time it ever really has, Matt, is when Skip was here and we could take all those non-qualifiers, and Skip was good at recruiting them.
Yeah, no doubt. Exactly. It hasn't worked out in recent memory. And I'll tell you guys, to go back to the comment, I think it was Jay, right? It was Jay.
Yep.
Once we had plus territory, we're up 13-10. We have plus territory twice, in a good position to take total command of that game. And I felt we got conservative in that spot and made some critical mistakes, some penalties. We saw the example with Mason Garcia. And I felt at that point we were not going to win that game because I just don't have faith in our defense to get that big stop when they need it.
And kind of to your point, Matt, as far as the play we already discussed, the 3rd and 6 at the Marshall 27 or 28 yard line there, the first play of the fourth quarter. I mean, that was not, it was not that complicated of a play. We didn't execute it. So that's something else that, the average fan may not have understood exactly what was taking place there when and thought that maybe Mason, because there were some protection issues at times, but maybe they thought that Mason had legitimate pressure there when that wasn't so.
No, in fact, I remember on that particular play, Bubba, my wife, who's a very casual college football fan, said, "What was that? He just ran to the side and threw the ball out of bounds." So it was pretty evident on that play there wasn't a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, so that's one of those things, and just you would have hoped would have been a little bit farther along right now. Speaking from experience, and definitely, depending on a quarterback's pass and how much he's been protected or not protected, that was something I had to overcome at times. Standing there and staying in the pocket rather than having those happy feet and getting flushed from the pocket when I was not being flushed, and just false pressure there. And so, hopefully Mason will just continue to improve in that regard. Another play that Matt and I were discussing, can't remember if we shared this in the group text or not, but this was after we were trailing 24-13, right after Rasheen Ali from Marshall had the 57-yard touchdown run with a little over 7 minutes to play. We're facing a 2nd and long at our own 25, 2nd and 10, I believe, to be exact. And there you see 2 receivers split out to each side for our viewers. And, Marshall had the too high safety look, and then their cornerback to the top of the screen there, 10 yards off the ball. And we were just we're nonchalant throwing this route. There's no reason throwing interception here. Josiah Hatfield ran a 5-yard, not a very good route, in my opinion, 5-yard hitch route. And then you had Antonio Ferguson, freshman tight end, there in the slot. He ran a 10-yard stop route. And Mason elected to throw it to Josiah, which was fine. The flat defender there that's lined up just inside of Antonio Ferguson there, just inside the hash mark to the top of the screen. That defender moved out toward Josiah Hatfield. He widened, so really the better throw would have probably been to Ferguson, perhaps. But either way, Garcia should have had a completion here. Just didn't throw it on time, a little nonchalant and getting the ball out, not quickly enough. And also, I want to note, Josiah didn't do a good enough job working back to the football. Kind of a bit of a lazy route on this particular play. And, if he works back to the football, the interception may not occur as well.
Got to help your quarterback. Hey, guys, we got Shell from Charlotte on the line. Shell, brother, what's up?
Hey, man, how are you?
Good. Yeah, get your thoughts on the game. I know you're in the Queen City. And first of all, how's Randy doing with his sports? And then we'll get to football.
He's doing good, man. They're doing well. Charlotte Catholic they played on national television 2 weeks ago against Providence Day on ESPNU for high school football, which is crazy. But they're 3-1 and they're doing well. Thank you. He starts fall ball lacrosse, but yeah, he's got both those sports going right now. So thanks for asking. Hey, yep. Matt.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Shell?
Hey, buddy. Guess who I'm having breakfast with on Thursday morning this week?
Jeff.
Correct.
Jeff Carr. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I'm catching up.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna see Jeff on Thursday morning. So I'll tell him you said hello.
Oh, absolutely. We were texting a little bit over the weekend, but definitely tell him I said hello.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So my first thought is, I don't have the numbers in front of me, Bubba. I know you would, but when Alex came in, they knew we were throwing the football. And I don't know that he had maybe 10 yards less total than Garcia. And I know Alex is not a big runner, but he can run the ball. So the big question I have for all of you is, do you think that the coaching staff puts Alex in as a starter for App State and just says, look, it's your game. Don't look over your shoulder. We're not pulling you out. If you throw a pick, just, play your game. Because I don't see, it's like a point guard or a shooting guard in basketball. You miss a couple shots and they pull you. So I'll listen to your thoughts.
Based on what I've seen, and just going with gut feel here and what I saw yesterday, I think that we'll probably see Mason starting, but I definitely share your thoughts there as far as Alex Flynn. He came in cold against Michigan. I mean, he knew he was coming into the game. That had been discussed prior to the game, but still not the easiest of situations just to come into the game there early on in the second quarter. Performed well, then not as well in the third quarter, and then we brought Mason back in. But last night, to your point, I think Mason finished up with 62 yards passing, and Alex had 61, and it looked like the interception that Alex Flynn threw, there was perhaps miscommunication there with the receiver, where the receiver turned in and Alex threw a comeback where he was expecting him to work back at an angle toward the sideline, and instead he did so to the inside. So that interception is a little bit easier for me to take than the one that we just discussed with Mason, just from a more of a coaching standpoint. But I like the thought of starting Alex, and then Mason prep to go as well, and have his package to take advantages of his strengths.
Now, Bubba, you said you think we're going to start Mason against the App. Did you mean to say that?
That's just based on my gut feel. I mean, obviously, a lot goes into it that we're not privy to. That's just based on kind of my gut feel in this situation, not what I would do, but what I think the coaching staff may do. Personally, based on what I've seen, which is nowhere near, not even, it's a extremely small percentage of what our staff sees day in, day out. But based on our limited body of work, I would say Alex Flynn would start.
So you think Flynn will start against App, not Mason? Okay, you said Mason.
No, I said that Alex is who I would start based on what I've seen. But if I had to project it, I would say Mason will probably start. But we shall see.
Guys, did you see that one of the things I was frustrated, our good old friend Stevie Fly was with us last night and his daughter, and we were talking about the long ball. Did you see how quickly that, Alex threw a long ball? Was it 37 yards or something like that?
Yeah, it was as soon as he came off the bench. I think you got to start Flynn. I think I think Mason, he's shown he does not have the mental. Let me rephrase that. I'll just say it like this: he's too scared. He's too scared to throw the ball more than 8 yards downfield. He's just too scared, and I don't see how in the world you don't. What I would do is kind of what Bubba alluded to that he would do. I would start Flynn and draw up some passages for Garcia, like you used to see in the early 2000s with the old school Wildcat quarterback. You don't see the Wildcat as much as you used to. But that's what I would do with Garcia. I would start Flynn and then have some packages specifically designed for Garcia to take advantage of his running ability, where you even take basically the only throw he has, if he throws it's to go deep, kind of like what James Summers did before people wouldn't leave Ruffin alone and made him start him instead of Blake back in 2015. But just start Flynn, draw up some packages for Garcia to utilize his running ability and his ability to throw the ball deep. Where if he throws it, pretty much that's his only thing is to go deep, because it's supposed to be a strength, but we haven't seen him do it. We haven't seen it's amazing. People talk about the arm strength he has. We haven't seen him throw a deep ball.
Yeah, that was one. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead, chill.
So I think what Kyle is saying, I agree with him, because when you look at Flynn, right, the kid is crazy smart. I mean, he's getting his MBA right now. He's going to go to med school when he finishes.
Right.
So to Matt and Bubba, you know, as former players, when you watch these quarterbacks, that their eyes move and they go progression 1, progression 2, progression 3, and I think Alex hasn't been given the chance to get into a rhythm, but he does see the progressions. I mean, he moves quickly with his eyes, and I think, like Kyle said, listen, there's no doubt that Mason can throw it through a freaking concrete wall, but I just don't think that he can make those reads and move in real time to D1 defenses. I just don't think he can. I think Alex can. They just got to give him a chance.
That's what I was. That's exactly kind of where I was coming from based on what I saw in his 3 or 4 series that he had up at the big house. You know, those 3 or 4 possessions, for the most part, he looked very in control of what he was doing, and even when things went a little awry and he got some pressure, he showed some nice escapability there. He attempted to escape to his left and then was able to reverse field and then was able to throw the ball past the line of scrimmage to avoid the sack. So, all in all, I've liked what we've seen out of the 4 or 5 series that we've seen Alex Flynn, and I would like to see him more. Hopefully, this time in a starting role against App State. But something else of note, we'll discuss this here shortly, is just our inability thus far to run the football. Other than our quarterbacks, we've had a very limited number of rushing yards through 2 games out of our running backs.
Yeah, and I think that, Bubba, is something we really need to evaluate moving forward. I think that we want to be a run-first football team, and I think we need to reevaluate that a little bit. And what I'm saying is, there's one school of thought where if you look at App State, for example, they run the ball to set up play action, and they're very effective at it. They run the zone stretch, and they set you up. They keep running it. And then guess what? They hit you with the play action over the top. And they did it yesterday against North Carolina at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, they did.
Yep. And that's a very effective play. I think that's who we want to be, but it's not who we are. We need to be the type of team that spreads you out. Yep. We need to open up lanes. We need to pass first, in my opinion, or at least attempt it, and then try to mix in the ground game. I don't think we have the offensive line this year to just line up and pound people and move people. There's no evidence that we do at this point. It's just we haven't seen it. And what I would really try to do is spread people out. I would try to open things up in the passing game. Maybe I would also pick up the tempo a little up tempo. All right. And then blend in the running game when you could start to create some lanes. I think it's just a different philosophy of looking at things.
Yeah, kind of to your point, Matt, let's go back 26 years ago to that 1997 team that you were a part of your senior season. You'll recall your junior year, we had such a veteran offensive line, with the likes of Jamie Gray, etc. But the following year, after some losses on the O-line, Scott Harley following 1,700 rushing yards in 96, we only had Scott rush for 450 yards in that 97 season. And Steve Logan, realizing that particular offensive line strength was not run blocking, and we started throwing the ball even more. And a lot of people don't realize, how balanced we were under Steve Logan most years when we had that ability. But Coach Logan knew the strength of that team, and I want to say it was that Cincinnati game on game 10 of that season. That was in the rain at Dowdy Ficklin. And you recall, Matt, we threw it about 60 or 70 times in the rain.
A lot.
Sure do. That was the last game I ever played in college. And, it's actually a great example that you make, Bubba, because there are a lot of similarities between that 97 team and this year's team in terms of 96, we graduated a ton of talent.
Right.
And 97 was almost a transitional year where we were trying to find our footing and we were trying to break in a lot of new faces and a new quarterback. And there was a lot of talent on that team, but it hadn't yet blended together like it needs to, especially early in the season. As the season went on, it did. And you could see a lot in this team where we lost a lot of talent, and you lost a few linemen in the portal, and I think that's killing us right now. But this is going to take some time. It's going to take some time. I think we'll get better as the season goes on, but I'm not going to excuse last night. We should have won that game.
One thing I brought up last night on
Hey,
Pirate Radio.
hey, Matt, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Wow, just step over me, Shell.
I'm sorry, buddy. I got a little bit of delay here. I'm on my cell phone. Sorry, Kyle. So, Matt, when you say play fast, as a former player at East Carolina, wouldn't you need or don't you need a cerebral quarterback that can make the adjustments really quick with the plays coming in so fast? I was watching this thing with the QB thing on Netflix, and Kirk Cousins was talking about how much information they have to process.
Yep.
And when it comes in so fast, you've got to be able to process it so quickly if you're going to play at that speed.
Oh, absolutely. You have to process information quick. You have to be able to, be very comfortable with the offense and the checks. You have to have full command of the offense to do it. But in addition to that, it keeps the defense from substituting. And so you can find matchups. It's easier to find matchups because let's just say you catch the defense with, a 240-pound linebacker on the field as opposed to a 200-pound nickel. Guess what? Now I have a matchup with my slot receiver I could take advantage of. They can't substitute. So I think you make a really good point, and there's no doubt.
All right, Shell, do you have anything else?
No, sir. I'm going to hang up and listen to you guys and appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great week. And a lot of people from Charlotte are heading up to Appalachian this weekend. So go Pirates.
All right, drive safe and give my best to Randy. Good luck to him.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, appreciate you. All right, bye. All right, if you want to call in tonight, 252-290-0375. People are trying to call in, so call back, 252-290-0375. If you're watching, we've got the number on the screen. If you're listening tonight, 252-290-0375 is the number. And Matt and Kyle and Bubba, for me personally, do you think, I'm going to ask this question while we're waiting for our folks to call, and I think we've got our caller in right now, and I'll put them on the line. Hang on one second, guys. All right, we got Stevie on the line. Stevie from Lasker, North Carolina. What's up, bro?
I think I know him.
We know you. You've got
You
that.
think you know me?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Great show on Wednesday night. Just another sports podcast for everybody at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Kyle, you ready to translate?
Yeah, I got you. All right. Well, I'm ready to translate for Stevie. Whatever he says, I'll translate it from northeastern North Carolina English into regular Southern English.
Yeah. I mean, everything you guys said has been true about last night. To give up 21 points in the fourth quarter, in the span of like 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, when we had a chance to put it away. And do we not have? I know we run the ball, but do we not have any misdirection plays or something like that? Because I told Dave, like Kyle said, he texted Dave on that third down play, or before that third down play, saying we need to do a gadget play. Yeah, I told Dave, I said, we need to do something right now that's just something we haven't done all night right here, and get this first down and try to seal this game. And little did I know, Marshall was listening, and they decided to do it on the next possession, which was a great call at the right time. But and as far as Mason goes, and I never played quarterback, but just watching him, he looks very uncomfortable in the pocket. Just like you said, he gets one read, and then it's like he wants to take off. He's throwing off balance a lot, which his arm strength that he's got is, I've always heard he had incredible arm strength, but when you throw off balance and you're not set trying to throw this way, just like Bubba said with that that pass through the interception, very nonchalant on that one. You could see that coming, the interception. I saw that coming as soon as he threw it. But I don't know what the problem is with him, whether he's scared to throw it down the field like Kyle said or not. But it just amazed me that as soon as Flynn gets in the game, he airs it out, and I'm like, where has this been all night? Is this something they're calling with Mason, and he's scared to do it, or what? I don't know.
It's a combination.
I think he's scared, but Stevie, and I think what you and Bubba are calling nonchalant, and I think you guys you're seeing it as nonchalant, and Bubba's played in college, coached high school. Stevie, you coach high school. I don't think at that point in the game Mason's being nonchalant. I think it's like
what I mean by nonchalant, I don't. He just didn't have enough sense of urgency,
Right.
In his mind. What I'm saying is, he's there. He sees that corner 10 yards off the ball. He didn't just catch the snap and get rid of it quickly enough.
He's second guessing himself.
Right. Instead of, just
here's the
there should not be an interception on that play. And
correct.
And I'm not saying Mason Garcia knows this. It's one of those things. I mean, back when I was playing, I certainly threw bad interceptions like that at times where and that's something that you just have to learn from it, move on, and just like you go back and look at the film, like how in the world did I not just catch it and get rid of it and throw that pick?
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
To be fair, there was some drops on the pass that he threw yesterday, but if he's scared to throw it down the field, he's scared to make a mistake.
We got Bubba's cell phone connection.
Stevie's got that wonderful cell phone there in Alaska, North Carolina.
Am I going in and out?
There you go. You're clear now, Stevie. Repeat what you said again.
Okay. I turned my chair around a little bit, so I must be getting good connection. But yeah, the thing in a nutshell is if he's scared to throw the ball down the field deep because he's going to make a mistake, he just needs to look at what he's done these first two games, because it can't get any worse than what he's done the first two games.
Oh yeah, it can.
He's got not from what that first what we had 4 first downs the first half.
Yeah, and I can't get much worse offensively, no.
Yeah, exactly. Now, defense, I'll give defense credit. Defense did a great job keeping us in that game. Defense stayed on the field too long.
Amen. You could tell, that's why we broke down, and I was going to say that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Stevie. That's why in the fourth quarter the span went so fast, because our guys were you could tell that you and I were talking about that sitting beside each other there watching the game. You could tell in the fourth quarter the defense had lost a step or two.
And what I saw was some frustration on defense with some guys not playing. You got some guys getting the boo-boo face, I think, is what I saw on defense, and not following through and executing the way they were supposed to and the way they were earlier in the game.
Well, the straw that broke the camel's back, when they went, just like you and me talked last night, Kyle, the defense got down after that gadget play, the pass that put them up 17-13, and it looked like the offense panicked, and it was just going, and then the defense, after the offense didn't get anything going,
they're right back out there.
Like frustration, and fatigue set in, and it just went and then, you throw an interception deep in your own territory after that. And defense
scored.
Was just, it was a combination, I believe, of frustration and fatigue.
Yeah, but I will say this, and defense played well. Go ahead, Stevie.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, I was going to say, defense played well, but fatigue is one thing. I don't give a shit. Matt, you played. I'm sure you got frustrated at linebacker. You can't get mad at the offense and then start taking plays off. You kept us in the game this far. Finish playing the game the way you've played it for 3.5 quarters. You have some pride in what you're doing. And if nothing else, it's something to build on, and it's something for the offense to go, hey, the defense never quit on us despite us not producing. So I'm not gonna forgive any frustration. Fatigue, I'll forgive. Frustration, I will not.
No question. Those penalties, by the way, especially that one. I was telling Stevie that that play, and I was telling Matt that out of bounds play, that late hit. The guy was at the water. He was at the Gatorade cooler. He was that far out of bounds, and so I was like, as much as I pick on officials, I can't say anything about that one because that was blatant. I mean, there was no way you could argue for your team on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and just to kind of chime in on the defense a little bit, and I think there's definitely a lot of positives from the defense. I think the front seven, I think it's pretty obvious they are really stout against the run. That's the strength of our team right now is the front seven on defense. We're very good against the run, but we are really struggling in the secondary right now, guys. And there were like 4 or 5 drop passes last night that Marshall. Had they caught those balls, this game, I mean, they would have scored a lot more. And, we got fortunate with those drops. And right now, there's a lot of questions for me about this defense in terms of, first of all, we're not generating any pressure. We're just not getting any pressure. And conversely, we're not covering anybody in the secondary. I mean, there were numerous times last night where people were just running free through the secondary. And this is actually, you can go back to the Houston game last year. The last 5 games, we've had major issues in the secondary.
Yep.
Even against Coastal, against their 4th string quarterback, there were guys, they hit us on like at least 3 deep balls that night. So we need to clean some things up. And it's great to be stout against the run, but if you're getting gashed in the secondary, that's not good. And we better clean it up fast because App State is a very good offensive team. What do you think about that, Stevie?
I agree with you. There was a lot, and Matt, I don't know if you agree with this or not. There was a lot of soft play in the secondary. They were giving up, and just like you said, there were guys running wide open at times. There was a play, I think it was in the second quarter. No, maybe it was the first quarter, that a long pass that ECU player got beat. I don't know which one it was in secondary, and luckily the guy dropped it right there.
Yes, I know the exact play you're talking about is down the Marshall sideline, Stevie.
Yeah, and then the third, we've got them backed up when the I think it may have been when the quarterback stepped out of bounds. We got them back up on like a 3rd and 18, and they somehow. You got a guy that gets behind the corner, and the safety is not coming over quick enough to get it. He gets 19 yards. He gets just enough to get the first down, and they keep the drive going. Well, that was one thing too. We didn't make a lot of stops on 3rd down to get the defense off the field either, and that goes back to the secondary because the majority of the times it was pass plays that got, whether it was a 9 or 10 yards, and I mean these are like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, or like a 3rd and 18. They were getting just enough out of a pass to keep that drive going. And I mean, you can't have that. I'm like you, Matt. They really need to clean up that secondary play.
Yeah, no doubt. And this may sound crazy, guys, but you remember a few years back, maybe our best pass rusher we've ever had. Well, one of them. We've had a lot of good ones. Nate Harvey. This dude was unblockable.
Oh yeah.
He was like a 5th string running back here, and somehow they identified him, Kyle. And I would really take a look at the roster. I honestly, this might sound like very high schoolish or whatever, but I would take a look at that roster, and I would say, if it's a 3rd and long, we got to find somebody who can come off the edge and get some pressure. There's got to be somebody on that roster. I don't care who it is. If it's a backup wide receiver, take a deep look, right?
Matt, if you remember, I don't know, maybe you never followed TCU this closely, but when Gary Patterson really had it going at TCU, one of the things he used to do was recruit high school running backs to play on the defensive line. So,
C.J. Wilson.
That's impressive.
Yeah, C.J. Wilson's an example at East Carolina. There you go. High school running back that became a very good defensive lineman.
And we got to see it. His ability to run with the football on that PAT against Southern Miss. That was so crucial to us winning that game.
For the East Division, block the extra point, ran it back for 2.
Yeah,
huge
2-point
play in that game. Yep.
I'd forgotten all about that. Wow.
That was if he don't make that play, I think we lose that game.
That was like a,
Yeah,
and that's
huge-
like a, when that happens,
huge
like a
momentum swing.
backbreaker.
Oh yeah, huge momentum swing. Yeah, because Southern
Yeah.
Miss had just gotten the momentum and we took it right back instantly. So
Speaking of which, guys, I know that we're talking East Carolina, but speaking of Southern Miss, man, Florida State, they will definitely be in the Final Four, and I like.
I think as we sit here tonight, Florida State's the best team in college football. Now,
Yep.
who knows by the end
Oh,
of
yeah.
the year? But as we sit here tonight, I think if we sit here tonight, I think they would beat Georgia if they played. Now,
I
who
agree.
knows by the time January gets here?
Yeah, I don't think, and sorry for my dog fans listening tonight. If there are anybody out there, I don't think there's going to be a three-peat. I really don't.
No.
All right, Steve, you
All
got
right,
anything
guys,
else?
I'm gonna clear up the phone line for y'all so somebody else can call in. But
All right, bro.
appreciate you guys taking my call.
All right, enjoyed it last night.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Stevie.
thank you again, Dave. Appreciate it, buddy.
No problem.
Y'all
man.
have a good one.
Anytime. See you
All
later.
right, we'll see you Wednesday, Stevie.
All right, bud.
Stevie, try that in a small town, buddy. Did you like that comment the other day? I was just joking.
I liked it. Monica says the Logan way: recruit good athletes and plug them. Absolutely, Monica. You know the guys. We're talking about having the change up. Do you think the coaching staff will have a sense of urgency to make some changes, some wrinkles? Like I think Flynn is ready. Like we were talking about starting Flynn. If you start Flynn looked very sharp on his throws. Bubba, I want to ask you and Matt, were there any throws that you were like, he seemed extremely, I know Matt said the command, but he seemed extremely confident. And one thing that I was going to say about
Are you
Mason
talking about last night, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, Alex threw the pick. I referenced that
Yeah.
earlier, but it looked like, from what I could see on film, just based on how Alex, his footwork and how he threw the football, it looked as though he was expecting, like a 15 back to 12 comeback. And
right,
he threw it on the outside. The receiver turned in. So no, you don't like any interception, but that's one. As a coach, I could live with a little bit more than the one where we didn't throw the ball on time, where you had a corner playing 10 yards off and you're in a 5-yard hitch and it gets picked.
To me, it's not even this complicated. To me, I really go back to it being as simple as this. Flynn doesn't look scared. Mason does. Flynn doesn't look scared to throw the ball downfield. Mason is. To me, that is as simple as that. I don't even have to break down the interceptions or it's that simple. Mason may look like Brett Favre in practice, but he looks like, I don't know. Besides running the ball, he's scared to death to throw the ball. He second guesses himself constantly. You cannot play the quarterback position like that. You can't. It doesn't matter how talented you are.
When you say scared,
I
obviously Kyle means scared as far as throwing.
Scared to make a mistake.
Throwing an interception.
Yes, he's not scared to take a hit. He's scared he's gonna screw up. And I think you got to start Flynn. I don't even think it's a question. I think you have to start him because Mason is playing scared, and maybe Mason will show something in practice this week that he can then take into the game against the App. But I would be shocked if we don't start Alex Flynn against Appalachian State Saturday. I mean, shocked. Bub, I know you said that's what you would do, start Flynn, but you still think the staff is going to start Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to put money on it, that's what I would, I think, put money on. But
I'll take your bet because I bet you they start Flynn. I just don't see how you can start Garcia.
I hope you're right. And
Emmanuel
as we've said, this is not anything other than based on just what we've seen thus far. And Mason Garcia has definitely done some good things, especially running the football. And speaking of running the football, wanting to go to some comments that Elliot Jamison had chimed in with back several minutes ago. He says, does he think run the ball and between the tackles on first down every time works? It hasn't. We were discussing that this afternoon, and some of the numbers. Now, obviously, a lot goes into this, and this is just on a very general level. I mean, this is not taken into consideration field position, down and distance, time and score, all those sorts of things. But obviously, for the most part, these are it's 1st and 10. With the exception of when you get a penalty and it's 1st and 15 or 20. But we'll actually come back to that graphic shortly. But the numbers over the first two games, we have run 46 plays on first down. We have thrown the ball 22 times. We have run the ball 24 times.
That's a little surprising.
And it is, but if you look at it a little closer, 9 of those 22 pass attempts on first down came once the issue was decided on that final possession against Michigan. We threw it 4 or 5 times in a row. And last night, when Alex came in, he threw it, I think, 4 consecutive plays. So when you really look at the first down numbers, take those 9 first down passes when the issue is decided out of the equation, it's more like 65-35 or 70-30.
Yeah, and you got to be that's too predictable, and particularly if you ain't having success at it. I will say this, and this is something I've been meaning to point out all show and hadn't had a chance to yet. Everybody knows how good Michigan's defense is. I don't know if everybody knows how good Marshall's defense is. Look, Marshall won 9 games last year, and it was doing what they did last night, playing good defense and running the football. That's what they do. That's their identity. And that's kind of the point I was making all week is they have their identity. We don't. That is one of the best defenses we will see all year. I do want people to realize that. So don't be shocked if we go up to App and put up, we're not going to beat App unless App somehow shits the bed. We're not going to beat App. I just don't see it happening. But don't be shocked if we go up there and score like 24 points, 28 points, something like that, because App's got a much better offense than Marshall. And it's designed to score more points than Michigan. I won't say they have a better offense than Michigan. It is more high scoring than Michigan. Michigan's obviously more talented, but their defense is going to be, of the 3 teams we've seen so far, the worst defense. So I would expect us to score more points this coming up week, but it just ain't going to be enough points.
Yeah, Kyle, kind of to that point very quickly, Matt, while we're on that topic, I had an App State fan reach out to me earlier this afternoon, a close friend of mine, and he grew up a Mountaineer, attended App State, and we were talking about things, how each other's games went yesterday and last evening, and he said, I know you guys are struggling to run the football. Our run defense may be exactly what your offensive line and run game needs to see. And I said, well,
then maybe you're right about starting Mason.
And then I said, but you could also turn around and say the same thing the other way. So this one of those something's got to give situations because the Tar Heels did eclipse. I want to say 200 yards. I'll get that exact total, and they were really having a lot of success running the football. But go ahead, Matt. What did you have?
Well, I was going to say, if we do decide to start Mason, I want to see us play to his strengths.
Right.
And what now? I've heard about the rocket. I don't want to sound like I'm banging on Mason, guys. He's a young guy. In no way am I writing him off. Okay, I want to make that clear.
You better not be banging on Mason.
Very nice, very nice. So I don't want to do that. Yesterday was obviously not a good performance, right? That doesn't mean we're throwing him away. It just means right now he's not ready yet to take full command, and we need to give Flynn an opportunity. All right. But if we are to start Mason again, let's play to his strengths. Supposedly he's got this rocket arm, D Rich. Yeah. Let's let him throw the ball deep a little bit. Let's test the arm. How about some wide receiver screens? What do you do with a strong arm quarterback who is not necessarily able to get to his second and third read? You give him one read, a wide receiver screen. He has the cannon of an arm to get it out horizontally. All right. What about some tunnel screens? What about some fades, some posts? I mean, what is happening? Not one deep ball yesterday. It's inexplicable, Dave.
What do you think they were called, Matt? He just didn't, and that was the primary read on some of those times he pulled it down and ran it. Do you think some of that was called and he just didn't throw it, Matt?
If it was called and he didn't throw it, I'm taking him out immediately.
Me too.
I think it's both. I think some of that is happening, and I think some of it is the conservative play calling. I think
Well,
it's
that
both.
kind of goes back to what we were discussing in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the show regarding the RPO game and Donnie
Right.
Kirkpatrick, the weekly press conference following the Michigan game that Wednesday of Marshall week. He referenced that and just saying that he was calling that because that was one of Mason's strengths, but
Yeah.
apparently it was part of the RPO rather than just calling a takeoff route or a fade route, whatever you want to call it. And so I would like to see us, call some sort of vertical concept and when it's there and not be part of an RPO situation.
What about zone read, guys? Do you think because he's run so well, is there any kind of zone? You remember when was it Mark Crandall or different quarterbacks we've had where we're not going to do it? I'm not saying do it the whole game, but throw in some zone read from time to time.
If he can do it, he's got the athletic ability to
Right.
do it. I'm a big fan of the option game, particularly when you've got multiple running backs that can do what
Right.
we can do, and you got a quarterback that can run. I think it's definitely something we should try to utilize, but we don't seem to. We haven't done it under this staff.
Because under the as far as the Marshall game, under the what I have here that they sent out to us, they have Mason Garcia 16 carries for 132 yards. They have Rajay Harris 9 carries for 29 yards. Marlon Gunn 4 carries for 7 yards, and Javius Bond 6 carries for 9 yards. So when you look at that, guys, when you have Bond and Gunn only having 16 yards combined, that tells you that when you see Mason with the 132, that's another thing. He's constantly. Some of those were designed yesterday, and then we were talking about. Matt said it best. He gets happy feet. He panics. He sees one read that's the first. Like he sees his first read covered, and he's like,
and that
132,
132, half of that came on those yards, primarily those first yards came on one long run, and then the first drive of the third quarter. They primarily came on those 2 drives.
Right.
And Dave, you were talking about the discrepancy in numbers. The numbers that I have here, these are the season statistics, not the Marshall statistics. So Mason Garcia, as you see, has 24 carries for 154 yards, right at 6.5 per this season. But as far as our running backs, Rajay Harris, Javius Bond, and Marlon Gunn, that trio has 33 rushes for 92 yards. So
that's ridiculous.
What 2.9 yards per carry. So that gives you an idea of outside the quarterback how much we struggle to run the ball. And just off the top of my head, I know last night Rajay had a 14 or 16 yard run. And I know at Michigan he had a 16-yard run. So if you really want some mind-boggling numbers, you take out that 32 yards, and I know you're going to have big plays mixed in, but this just shows just how extreme it has been, our inability to run the football. What you would have, 31 attempts for about 60 yards, so less than 2 yards per carry.
Matt and Bubba, what are y'all seeing on defense? Is the defense just saying these guys can't throw it, won't throw it, so we're just going to gear up and stop the run? Are you guys seeing that on defense?
Matt's probably looked at that a little bit more closely than I have. Matt, what have you seen from Michigan and Marshall to that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if I was a defensive coordinator right now playing against East Carolina, I would just load the box, take away
Has
the
that
run.
been what Marshall did? Marshall do that much last night?
You know what? I don't have the game film, so it's kind of hard to tell. And I haven't really gone back and analyzed the whole game, so it's a good question. But I think right now, if you take away the run, you're going to have success because we haven't proven that we can throw the ball effectively at all. So that's what I would do. And you combine that with a lot of new faces on the offensive line. A lot of new faces. Kyle, the loss of Strother and Avery Jones to the portal was massive, and we have a lot of new faces up there, and I think those things are really hurting us. So, but yeah, to answer the question, load the box, you take away the run, you make East Carolina beat you with the passing game, and that's what I think. That's what any coordinator is going to do right now.
I don't think we have. You look at the running backs we have, and they're really the only weapons we have on offense. So with apologies to, I know Jalen Johnson's got some talent, and
we have Patterson.
Yeah, I just don't. Well, they're unproven, man. What has Brock Spalding done? I mean, he hasn't done anything. Hey, we just. I don't think
you got to get it to him too.
Yeah, I know, but I just don't think we did a very good job. And this is the point I was going to make earlier in something I said on Pirate Radio last night. I don't think Coach Houston prepared for year 5, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. I think he thought he was going to be gone. I really believe he thought last year we were going to win 10, 11 games, and he's going to be in the ACC or SEC. He coached 3 years at Lenore Ryan, 2 years at the Citadel, 3 years at James Madison. He's never been anywhere for a year 5. And you can say he's never been anywhere for a year 4. Well, year 4 was more like year 3 because, of the COVID year. He's never, so like I say, I think maybe I'm wrong. And, if it gets back to him and it pisses him off, so be it. But I really believe he thought last year we were going to have a breakout year. We came close. If we beat NC State and Navy, he probably ain't here right now. And I really don't think he prepared for year 5. That's really, truly, I think what we're seeing a lot of is lack of preparation, particularly on the offensive side of the ball for year 5. And I said that all year when people were like, we're going to win 7, 8, 9. I was like, well, I don't see it. I was like, I don't see it. We have too many unproven commodities on offense. And I think that's being seen right now.
Let me say this. The one thing we know about East Carolina is games we should win, we don't, and games we shouldn't win like App, we can. And, it's funny with our fan base, as soon as we were all upset about the Marshall game, yours truly, I'm putting myself in there. But then I started thinking about today, you know what? This coaching staff, I do believe in this coaching staff, and I do believe that they made, the Marshall game, Kyle, you've said about other games in the past with Houston over the last 2 years. I think Marshall is one they know they should have won. They let it slip away. They had it won. And if they had put Flynn in earlier, we would have definitely had command of the game. You can't help the rain delay. The rain delay didn't hurt us, actually. We started playing better, I thought, with Mason in the third quarter. So it comes down to the sense of urgency. We're going to find out if the coaching staff has a sense of urgency. I say, if it's me, I go for broke at App State. Go for everything. Throw everything you can at them, because I think they've been way too conservative. And I know there's some people out there, there's a school of thought, which is crazy, but sometimes, Matt and Bubba and Kyle, I want to get your thoughts on this. This is one of my points I was going to make. Sometimes coaches can be way too smart, and they can get in their heads and outthink themselves because they hold back on certain things. App, we don't want App to see this. We don't want Marshall.
Well, we weren't holding shit back, if that's what you're alluding to.
They have, dude. What I'm talking about is because they've had the conservative game plan. And if they will open up the playbook, and look, if Garcia and Flynn can't help, if they can't handle it, what do we have to lose? Right now, we're 0-2. We're 0-2, and we could be. The game I was worried about is game 3, because I thought we had a shot, and we did. We should have won last night and lose next week. Instead, now we've lost last night, and now you've got to put it's like, if you want to go to a bowl game, you've got to have Appalachian as a win. I really believe that. I thought it was Marshall, but now we talked about that ad nauseum in the preseason and as we're walking our way up to the season. So now that you lost a game you should have won, now you got to win a game on the road that you probably wouldn't normally win. And I'm telling you, if I'm Mike Houston, you better open up the playbook, and you better you're going to have to trust your players. You're going to have to, Matt, you said it best. Whatever Mason's strengths, if y'all are really good coaches, I'm going to say this: a good coach puts their teams in the best position to win. And the way they do that, stop being stubborn about running and defense. If we have to spread them out and we could put 50 points on the board or 40 points on the board, do whatever we have to do, because if you go 3-9, this fan base is going to go nuts. So you better wake up and stop being stubborn and win football games. Okay, I'm sorry. Going, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, and I think here's the thing that I'm really looking for moving forward. I think this has reared its head several times, even going back to the NC State game last year. When we get in plus territory, we cannot play for field goals. We have to attack. We need to score touchdowns. All right. We have to be a little more aggressive in that spot, because this type of style where we're playing for field goals, it's not working out for us too well. It's really not. We're not efficient really in the kicking game. A little better so far this year, but I think we've still already missed 2 of them pretty badly. So I'd rather go down swinging. Let's let it go. Especially in plus territory. I mean, we got to take our chances, and we need to score touchdowns.
Well, if we don't come out with the mindset to be more wide open offensively in terms of passing the ball, and even if App has trouble stopping the run, yeah, of course you need to run the ball against App. I'm not suggesting you abandon the run, but this is 2023. We set football back 100 years last night. We didn't have a vertical passing game. I mean, it was literally like, that's Mason Garcia. Pull it down and run it again. It was literally like the forward pass hadn't been invented yet.
Nice voice.
Yeah, I like
Thank
that.
you. There, I will do the rest of the show in a 1920s broadcaster's voice.
You sound like a poor man's Keith. Keith Jackson.
Oh, yeah, Keith Jackson. Whoa, Nelly. Here we go in East Carolina. As they take on the Marshall Thundering Herd.
You're looking live at Kid Brewer Stadium. I know that's Brent Musburger.
Yeah.
Musburger was awesome, by the way.
I love Musburger. Whoa! I love when he did that with the beautiful woman. I thought it was funny because it's something an old man. He forgot he was on the air. Like, oh, wow.
The best thing I think I heard from a game last night, I was watching, I was listening to, on the way to the game, I had it on the Colorado, Matt's favorite team, Colorado. I had it on the Colorado-Nebraska game on Sirius Satellite Radio, and Sirius XM, I guess it's called now, whatever, they're not a sponsor. And the Colorado play-by-play guy, Colorado scored a touchdown with 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the quarter. And the Colorado play-by-play guy goes, and Colorado scores with 4:20 on the clock. What an appropriate time for the Buffaloes to score.
It's pretty good, Kyle. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but I couldn't believe that the play-by-play guy said that, but then I remembered weed's legal in Colorado. So, but if you don't get the 420 reference, it was a weed reference.
That's funny. I think they were the first state to legalize it.
They were, and but I was shocked to hear the play-by-play guy use a pot street term on the air.
By the way,
what is this graphic right here?
Matt Simmons.
That's a reference to Coach Prime, Matt.
Okay.
Given your love of the Buffaloes.
Yeah. By the way, did you see?
Not so much that I don't like Colorado. It's just my issue is
Coach Prime. He has a shirt, and they're readily available for people to purchase there in the Colorado bookstore. I ain't hard to find.
Yeah. It's not so much that I don't like Colorado. It's just that all of a sudden everybody you talk to is a Colorado fan. It's like nobody talked about Colorado for 25 years. And Deion's going to do awesome things there, but like I'm not like it just bothers me. Like,
I totally understand what you're saying, but you think about it. That's why
they brought him there.
In addition to obviously, he's assembled an excellent staff. He took advantage of the current college football rules that allows you to flip a roster.
Yep.
Normally turn around a football program is a daunting task, and it still is to a degree. But anybody that has been following what's going on with the transfer portal, when you can bring in 60 or 70 new players like you currently can, then doesn't make it easy, but it's much easier, and it makes it a little bit more like basketball, where a basketball team can be flipped annually instead of taking 2, 3, 4 years.
And there's nobody better for the transfer portal than Deion Sanders. He picked the perfect time to be a head coach, and I was a Deion hater. I'll be honest. I thought Deion makes everything about himself. I thought he would not succeed at this level. I thought they might go just as bad as last year's Colorado team, go 1-11, and boy, was I wrong, and I'll admit it. And when I'm proven wrong, I'll give credit. So I won't hate on Dion at all right now because he's proved me wrong 2-0 and looked good doing it in both games and against two pretty good football teams.
And they were 1-11 last year. 1-11, getting beat by 30 points a game. I understand it's not the same players, but now they're 2-0. Next up, they got the in-state rivalry with Colorado State. Probably will win that when you get to 3-0. But then
Colorado
after that,
State is awful. That'll be a bloodletting.
Yeah. I think Shador, this may very well be another game like TCU where yesterday I think he threw for close to 400 yards. So fully expect him to have another big day. Maybe 400 plus passing yards, and he's yet to throw an interception. Yesterday, the Buffs did surrender 7 sacks, which was kind of surprising given that he threw for 400 yards and they won the game by 22 points. And you don't see many games won by 22 points when you allow 7 sacks. But after what will probably be a 3-0 start after that game against the Colorado State Rams, you have a trip to Autzen Stadium, and then you have USC coming to
that's the one I want
to Folsom Field.
Yeah.
So they have their work cut out for them in games 4 and 5.
Yeah, they'll definitely be 3-0, like you said, Bubba. That's what you made my point for me, Bubba, is when you look at that schedule, man, Caleb Williams, if they beat USC, then I'll definitely tip my hat. I understand he's a great motivator. I'm not knocking him. Hey, Matt, by the way, I've got a great retirement plan for you. You want to hear it?
Let me hear it.
Okay, I know you're hating on Dion, but how about if I give you 10%? I'm just messing with you. How about if I give you 10% of the merch sales for Colorado, like the jerseys, the hats, all the people all of a sudden around are going to be walking.
How are you able to do that, Dave? If you're able to give 10%,
just saying.
I'll take any.
Take it for yourself.
I'll take any money I can get. I'll
10%.
I'll take anything.
0.5%.
Let me tell you. Let me just say this, guys. Dave, I'll take it, brother. I'll take it. But Shador Sanders, I mean, I'm beyond impressed with him. You talk about a strong arm, but I really like the scheme they're running. It looks a little bit like Art Briles at Baylor. Ultra wide, like 2 wide receivers on each side, spread out beyond the hash marks. Really stretch your defense. When you spread the defense out like that, you create lanes. And when the play breaks down, he can use his athletic ability. And man, he's got a strong arm. So I am very impressed. I just don't like how everybody's a Colorado fan now.
Hey, by the way, you brought up a point, Matt. I was going to ask that question is, with our defense we have with Blake Harrell, and you take a spread offense like what you had with Lincoln Riley, something like they're doing like the air raid now in Boulder, why not all of a sudden start doing that? Because we do have talent enough to run that.
You mean next year?
I would try something now.
You can't just change the offense in the middle of the year. You can tweak what we're doing, but you can't just put in a whole new scheme we hadn't practiced.
I understand that to a point. I'm not saying to overhaul, but you can put wrinkles of it in.
Sure. Well, you hope there's some stuff that we've been practicing that we just haven't maybe we'll show as the season goes on. But I don't think as long as Mike Houston's here, we're ever going to see an air raid style offense. But we can certainly be more passing oriented. You don't have to be that dramatic. You don't have to go full on air raid. But we definitely can go spread it out, go wide more, and try to get the ball in space more. I think really that's what everybody's talking about, is getting the ball out in space where some of your playmakers can make plays.
Yep.
Or at this point, hell, just a vertical passing game.
And that's another thing at this point. We talked about, one aspect, running to open up the passing game and vice versa. Now nothing's working. So, hopefully we'll be able to establish a bit of a running game to open up some things, or vice versa. Some of those short throws, we have seen some of those swing passes and screen passes to the running backs, but I really would like to to see, a little bit more, without a doubt, from the passing game, and hopefully we'll see that, be it with Alex or Mason. And going to some of the comments here, we have WJ O'Connor chiming in on Facebook. He says App has a JUCO transfer that's doing great at quarterback. Where were we as far as pursuing a transfer? So yes, that is Joey Aguilar. He came in there, I want to say it was maybe late first half or something, but sometime second quarter, I want to say, against Gardner-Webb, when Ryan Berger, the starter, had gone down with what they thought was just going to be a jam finger or something to that extent, but he's going to be out a significant amount of time, about 4 weeks. And so Joey Aguilar,
Wally pipped himself.
Joey Aguilar is this weekend starter without a doubt. And taking a look at him against Gardner-Webb, he was something like 11 out of 13 for 175 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then give me a moment. And yesterday, I can tell you, he had a pretty solid day against the Tar Heels as well. Joey Aguilar in the Mountaineers 40-34 double overtime loss at Kenan Stadium. Joey Aguilar 22 of 43, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also had 6 carries for 42 yards. So seems as though he may have some of that same mobility that Cam Fancher, the Marshall quarterback, had last night. Cam Fancher didn't run for a ton of yards. I think he had 25 or 30 yards, but he kept a ton of plays alive, and we were chasing him all over the field.
Yeah, elusive.
Yeah, very, very, very elusive.
Did you notice how they moved him a lot, guys? A lot of movement in the pocket,
Yes.
Sort of play action, boot, where you kind of get the defense going one way and then boot action the other way, and you use the tight ends that way. And I really like how they did that. And I think that's another thing too you can do with a young quarterback is move the pocket a little bit more and just kind of open things up for him a little bit.
Let me ask you guys this: at what point in the season, if the season if neither one of these quarterbacks pound out, in the next few weeks, so let's say by game 5 or 6, at what point do you pull the red shirt off Raheem Jeter and try to build for the future?
I don't think he's. I think it's that question's been asked a few times here tonight on our comment board. I think that a couple
so
times.
If we're 0-5 or 0-6,
it was Richard Allsbrook.
If we're 0-6, you don't think you do that?
I don't
think we will be, but
I would be surprised. Maybe in those last 4 games where you can retain your red shirt.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, I think that he's a guy that he's talented. It's not that he doesn't have talent. But Matt, don't you think? I mean, that we're kind of in the same boat. We're basically going to throw him into the fire. So then you have 3 quarterbacks. I know what people say. Well, if you're losing with the other 2 quarterbacks, well, when you get the third one. But I think I'll just say this: if you put Jeter in now or in a few games, it's like
I'm not suggesting now. I'm suggesting if you're 0-6, I mean, if neither one of these quarterbacks are showing that they can play at this level, at that point, I mean, I don't know, but I'm not giving up on. I'm certainly not giving up on Garcia, but I'm definitely not giving up on Flynn yet, because Flynn hasn't been given an opportunity to show what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we get to the 8th game, Kyle, to your point, I mean, I agree. Like, if we're stinking it up and nobody's, taking this job, nobody's playing well, at that point, consider anything.
Yeah,
I was joking around with my friend Bobby Weaver today about, we were on a text chain, a bunch of guys. He's got a year of eligibility left. I said, might need to dust him off at this point. We'll see.
Hey, by the way, this is a great question from Monica. And Monica, if you want to call in, by the way, we had someone we missed. Call us back 252-290-0375 if you're just joining us tonight. Monica says, if we're 0-3, could a confident GW Gardner Webb come in and actually beat us at home? And Monica,
Yes.
in 2019, no, but now they are much better. They were FCS playoffs last year, and they were ranked at one point really high in the polls. I don't know if they still are.
Well, the scarier part even about being FCS playoffs is how well they played against FBS competition. They played well against, they played well against that this year. If you look last year, they played 3 FBS opponents, if I remember right. Bub, I don't know if you have.
Coastal, Liberty, and Marshall. And
they played all 3 of them extremely close.
Yep. The Coastal and Liberty games were literally, within 2 or 3 points and came down to the wire. The Marshall game, Marshall won by about, 14, I want to say, but they pulled away there in the middle of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and if that happens, if we're 0-3, Gardner Webb comes in here and beats us, it will be meltdown city. At that point, you'll be seeing people, despite his success, calling for Mike Houston's head.
Because you have, and by the way, Kyle is going to bring this up, but you gave me a nice segue for you to talk about a program with JT Daniels. Rice beat overtime in Houston last night. Beat Houston.
Yeah, they beat overtime. Yeah, exactly. Very scary. You looked at the schedule and you thought, well, maybe we can get it together. We can beat Gardner Webb and Rice and take some positive momentum into the middle of the season. But man, now Rice is 1-1. Their loss to Texas certainly doesn't look bad. And now they beat Houston 42-38 with JT Daniels in overtime. So now Rice is probably a pretty good football team. That probably just wasn't an anomaly. Maybe it was, but probably not. So Jiminy Christmas, you better beat Gardner Webb.
No doubt. Since we're talking about other programs, the coach from Michigan State, guys, he beat off last night.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an open date.
Yeah, we'll beat off. Well, I think we've all beaten. I think we've all beaten off from time to time. But that whole situation stinks to high heaven to me. And I don't see how you have. We'll go ahead and talk about it since we brought it up. He's being accused of masturbating on the phone with a woman on the phone, and she's accused of sexual harassment. And he said it was consensual phone sex. Well, please tell me how you have unconsensual phone sex. If I know somebody is masturbating on the phone and I don't want them masturbating on the phone with me, I'm gonna hang up on them. How do you? It doesn't add up to me. And I don't have the facts. I wasn't there, but it just seems to me you got a man with a 10-year contract, which was stupid on the AD's part, for $90 million, and they want to get out of that contract because he ain't living up to the money. I don't know how you don't have. I don't know. Has anybody ever been trapped on the phone with somebody masturbating not with the ability to hang up the phone? I just don't see how that's possible.
I don't know. That's a tough, but I do. The thought crossed my mind because he's somebody that I was mad. I don't know about you, but and Bubba and Kyle, but I was going, oh my God, he has one great season, and you're giving him that kind of change. I mean, I know how bad they want to be relevant in football. Being Michigan State.
Well, it's not even the amount of money. It was the length of the contract. 10 years.
10 years.
It's insanity. In North Carolina, you can't even do that. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can sign anything longer than a 5-year contract.
Cliff Godwin got a 7-year deal, didn't he?
Okay, well then evidently that's not the case. I was wrong on that. I thought.
But I agree with
you.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Anything in life you should not give, and I won't go into any subject matter. Something I'm dealing with personally now, as you guys know, locally, was a 30-year deal, 30, which was ludicrous. But yeah, you're right, Kyle. I wouldn't give anything more than a 5-year deal because of what we're dealing with right now. I think when you're looking at it right now, people are asking about the schedule. I think everybody needs to definitely be upset. We are upset because we know we should have won last night. But I will say again, I'm looking at that. And Matt, I want to ask you this because you're very, oh my gosh, Bubba. Check this on the screen. That's all I'm going to say for people listening. I'll be glad.
Mel Tucker right there,
Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Guys,
so
I'll tell you, man, you guys, what's wrong with you guys? I mean, come on.
Matt's
what's wrong with you guys? How dare you guys?
When Matt's calling you out,
Matt's offended. Matt's really offended.
Yep, he's gonna protest the show for a couple weeks while he's in the Bahamas. Yeah. So for me, I'm just going. This is my thing, Matt. Okay, We stunk it up here in game 2. We had the game 1. We choked. Speaking of choking, that's a nice segue. Thank you, Bubba. Speaking of choking, for me, for game 3, what's your expectations to see? If you're the coaching staff, I'm going to put you and Bubba and Kyle on the coaching staff. You're the coaches of East Carolina. I'm going to make a pot of coffee for you because you're going to be staying up a lot and not seeing your family. What do you do this week? How do you rebound from something you know that you, as the coaching staff, should have won that game last night? It was not the players that lost the game. I think the coaching staff lost that game, and I'm a huge Mike. I'm eating my words right now because I'm a huge Mike Houston fan.
Yeah, I mean, well, first thing I mentioned earlier is I would mix it up a little bit at quarterback. I'd give Flynn a chance. That would be the very first thing I'd do. And I would change some things up offensively. You know, I would be a little more aggressive. I would take more deep shots. I would really, you know, we need to get guys in space. We haven't seen any plays this year where we get anybody in space, it seems like. You know, guys like Bond, try to get him in space a little more. Marlon Gunn. So try to create some plays where we get people in space, mix up the quarterback, and put some things in the playbook this week that they haven't seen us do yet, to try to throw them for a loop. And then defensively, the big thing with App is you cannot get sucked in on play action because they will kill you with it. And they beat us last time in Charlotte like that with the play action deep ball. And it's something we're susceptible to here. So you got to watch that. Those are just some little things.
There's something I wanted to point out here that's not really necessarily relevant to the Appalachian State game. But I want about at least a quarter of Pirate Nation to personally go to Holton Ayler's Twitter account, Facebook account, and say you're sorry.
Yeah, you know, that was something I was going to – you read my mind, Kyle. That's – you read my mind. I was getting ready to – that is so weird that you said that, Kyle. Not weird in a bad way, weird in a good way. I was getting ready to say, for all you people that were talking trash about Holton, I was getting ready to say, do you remember all those people, Matt, that were saying, oh, my gosh, if we don't start Mason next year, he's going to transfer? Do you remember those people, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
Bubba, Kyle?
Absolutely.
Oh, my gosh, we're panicking. We've got to start Mason because oh, my gosh, we got to – and all that. And so now you see the reason why Holton was starting is he was our best option. Holton wasn't perfect. He will tell you he was not perfect, okay? And he worked. But the thing I respect about Holton is he's always working. That's why he still made the practice squad.
Quite frankly, Dave, and I like Donnie as a person. He's a hell of a nice guy, and I think he's one of the best wide receivers coaches out there. But based on what I've seen about his ability to develop quarterbacks, it is almost shocking that Holton has done as well as he has.
Well, true, but I think the Manning Academy is a big thing. I think his work ethic, Manning Academy, he's a great student of the game. He's usually the first guy there, the last one to leave. And that's why he's been able to, with the raw talent he had and whatever he was being able to get over the last couple years, for sure. Give us a call, folks. I'm sorry I've missed 2 calls, so I'll try to 252-290-0375, 252-290-0375.
Yeah, call in. We have no Shirley Rose, so to speak. We have nobody.
I'm trying really hard.
So Dave is hosting the show and taking calls. So if you called and we didn't get your call, call back, and Dave will get it this time around. And we probably won't be on there too much longer. So if you want to call, I would go ahead and do so here in the next few minutes.
Guys, just back to Holton really quick. If Holton had played that game last night, I think we win by 2 touchdowns.
At least 2 touchdowns. Probably more than that, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, because Marshall, you know, I don't think Marshall's offense is that good. You know, I think most of what you saw with the scoring in the fourth quarter was us just falling apart mentally.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, Coach Houston referenced that in his post-game remarks, just about how quickly things went south, because he said, yeah, sure, there were plenty of things that we needed to get corrected from the first 3+ quarters, but the defense had put our team in a situation, as well as some nice things on special teams. But you really think about that defense, the the defense creating the turnover there. We were faced with the deficit. Offense doing essentially nothing, and needed a spark. The defense creates that turnover. The boneyard, when it started to rain, went ballistic. It was great to see. Very few students left, and the place went nuts. And then we forced that turnover. Play action pass on third down, and Mason Garcia found Shane Calhoun in the right corner of the end zone. Excellent play call, and I was glad to see us, go to the play action pass. Love play action pass to the tight end down there around the goal line.
Yeah, and by the way, when they rolled him out to the right. Maybe they can do more. We've been talking about different things. Maybe they can do that, guys. We have Mark, one of our regulars, long time, first time. Mark from Raleigh. How are you, man?
If I better, I'd be twins.
Thanks for your patience. Like I was telling you, unfortunately, we don't have one of the greats. I talked to her this week, Shirley Rhodes. We don't have her for the fifth quarter, so you're just gonna have to deal with me instead of the great Shirley. I love her to death.
Well, this problem, Dave. I just thought I'd call in. I watched the game. Oh, by the way, the game on Saturday. If you went on your computer on ESPN, you get the game. I couldn't get it on TV.
Weather delays messed up the sequence of games that were shown on ESPNU. Mark, there was several weather delays throughout the country.
Yeah, I understand that, but they kept saying it's a weather delay. But when they started back, all we're mentioning, they had some game on, and so anyway, if that happened again, where they think a more important game, for some reason on my computer, I was able to watch the game. Where they were on my TV, they were doing the game.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, they did that on what they moved it over to. You were able to see that because they moved it over to ESPN Plus, and that's what what Kyle was alluding to is the fact that they, And by the way, I will say this: they didn't cost us the game, but the officials definitely didn't help the idea of college football trying to speed up the game yesterday with all those penalties. But
no, they did not.
that between that and the weather delay, that hurt us as far as being on ESPNU. And I think, fellas, not only the play calling and everything being bad, but the refs were so bad yesterday with every time you turned around with a penalty. I think they wanted FaceTime. So I would much rather listen to the radio than watch television if they're going to throw a flag for every, there was holding. And I mean, there was a lot of holding, especially on that right side for Marshall, that they never called.
Yeah, well, I agree. And y'all brought up a lot of good points tonight. I just, I listened to I listened to you on the call-in show last night, and I watched the Michigan game and I watched the game Saturday, and I just got to mention that we get on Mason, and I guess he was 4 or 5 star out of high school or something.
4-star,
and we had him for 2 years and didn't play him. Holton was a great quarterback, but Holton wasn't perfect by any means. Would have been opportunities where Mason would have gotten playing time.
Great point. In fact,
and he didn't. Right. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was breaking up. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to step over you. It's a little bit of a lag, but
okay.
But the fact
I'm not. Well, go ahead. I'm new to this, so I don't know what to do.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Mark. What I was going to say is I was talking to Matt last night. Matt, do you remember when we were talking in our group text in the at the bowl game, and we were talking about when will we see Mason? Do you remember that? Do you guys remember that when we were at the Birmingham Bowl? And
let me ask y'all all a question, Dave, for what you're alluding to about when we're do y'all really think it would have mattered? I mean, do y'all really think if Mason would have got in mop-up duty last year that he really would have made him that much better of a quarterback this year?
Definitely. I think one of the problems is it's definitely experience. He didn't, in fairness to the coaching staff, what he wanted to do, which I think is maybe a mistake, is he wanted that extra year of eligibility. But if we had played him, and maybe guys, you could say 4 games, but if he had played him in every single, like Matt, I was thinking about your coach with Logan. You remember when he would bring in a quarterback for a series or two during the games? I mean, I'm just wondering, hindsight is 2020, obviously, and I'm not critical of Houston, but I just feel like I do agree with that. I would have liked to seen Mason. Maybe they could bring some packages in for him to run or different things we could do from every single game and say, look, you'll have 2 years left. And maybe they were afraid that he would transfer, but I just feel like that I do agree. They knew that this day was coming.
I don't disagree with they should have done that. I'm not so sure it would have made that big of a difference how timid he looks out there to me throwing the ball. I mean,
why do you think
I don't think you fix that with mop up duty.
No, but that's what I'm saying is that it's not necessarily mop up duty. Logan would bring him in second quarter, different situations. It wasn't just like we've got a big lead and put mop up duty, because they're going to be more conservative with their play calling anyway.
Well, I thought there were many times last year where we should have put him in, and there have been several times over the years where we put him in the fourth quarter, but we were just kind of handing the ball off and just kind of like running clock.
Right.
I don't believe in that philosophy anymore, where you kind of like you feel sorry for the other team and you're just running clock. My feeling is you only have so many opportunities to get your backup work, and it's the defense's job to stop you. So if I'm up by 25 points in the fourth quarter and I have a chance to get my backup in, I am not running clock. I'm running my offense full speed ahead, and I'm getting him work. I'm getting him real game experience.
I agree with you there.
Because this idea, you can't waste time anymore in college football. You can't just give away a quarter by running clock because you feel bad for the other team. If you have a chance, you got to take it.
Absolutely, Matt. I'm from the Steve Spurrier school of thought there. And I know Coach Spurrier at times went a little further than that with some trick plays and so forth. But as far as coming in and letting the backup quarterback run the offense, it's the other team's job to stop us. Let them throw the intermediate passing game, not just come in and hand the ball off 10 or 15 times. And I think back to 2021.
Yeah, and you saw Penn State do that last week, Bubba.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that.
I did not, but I think back to that 2021 game where we were beating Temple something like 42-0 late in the third quarter, and Mason probably didn't play until midway through the fourth or something. And Temple didn't have a pulse offensively that day. There was no way they were going to come back.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all 100%, or all three of you. More so with Matt and Bubba about being aggressive when you bring in the backup quarterback and mop up duty. I agree with that 100%. What my point is, from what I see out of Mason, I'm just not so sure it would have made a difference. He just looks scared to death to throw the ball.
So, any bit, I agree. Is it going to make a drastic difference? No, probably not. But any bit of experience you get, that is a few snaps that you didn't have, and it definitely would benefit you at least to some degree.
I'll finish thought and then I'll be gone. You think about not had Houston's. He's never said he's his quarterback this year, which that's fine. I kind of get that. And again, I go back to that experience where after 2 years, somebody of that level should have had playing time. And I played tennis down at East. I was born down at Clemson. My dad graduated from there. I don't know if y'all watched the Clemson game, but did you Smiley? The new offensive coordinator. They didn't do that offense that he was standing right beside his face, the coach down there at Clemson.
Dabo.
They ran the plays last.
Yep.
And that's where I'm kind of getting my point moving around is that who was actually calling the plays here? Is it Donnie? I've watched Donnie on shows just like I watch all shows all the time. He put on a great show. But I watch Donnie with Hawks, after practice and whatever. He's a smart guy. He knows the game.
Yeah.
Is he the plays? I don't know, because I think Coach Houston has a lot of control.
Yeah, I think
And,
it's
Donnie
you
is
know,
running what Mike Houston wants him to run.
absolutely. We've been
bingo. And Kyle, I get your point. I think you're right about, to some extent, about Mace. I don't know if there is the right word, because that just, I don't think you can be an athlete playing at that level and you're scared of something. I think that he's insecure to an extent,
right.
because this is the first he's gotten. It's not given, or hadn't given the assurance, which I understand how that goes, that he is going to be the starting back. And all I wanted to say, guys, he's a great athlete. I think he could do great things. The other guy is great too. And I think we've got a very good team. I think certain aspects aren't yet coached to the ability of the players, and that's all. I'll leave it at that.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. Glad to I know you've been listening and watching for a long time. Thank you for calling in tonight. Appreciate it very much.
Well, I'll stand and listen. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
Have a good one.
You too. Take care. Enjoy the rest of
Yes,
your weekend.
sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey, and
Scary.
guys, something kind of along that topic as far as quarterback play. Shane Matthews, we've referenced he and his podcast several times on the show. I listen, when I can, outside of listening to East Carolina content, because not only do they talk to Florida Gators, but they talk college football in general, much like we do, and really respect his opinion, because not only did he play at a high level and then play for about a decade and a half as a backup in the NFL, and he did have several starts in addition to being largely a career backup. He also coached and was a high school coach down in the state of Florida. Was the son of a coach. His dad was a very successful high school coach in the state of Mississippi. But Shane Matthews, and he was talking about Anthony Richardson, because he had actually not only called his games for Florida, he was the number 4 overall pick in the draft. And he said, is he a tremendous athlete? Does he have tremendous arm strength and all these sorts of things? Absolutely. He said, but just compared to some other quarterbacks, just his anticipation and accuracy and those things weren't necessarily there. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now. And not that it can't change, but just some of that I referenced earlier, as far as being on time and anticipation and so forth, is not there. And hopefully that will change moving forward.
Yeah, when I say scared, I don't mean he's scared like, oh my God, I'm scared.
He's talking about being tentative.
Yes,
right.
he's second guessing himself. In other words, he's scared. If you're insecure and you're tentative and you're second guessing and you're unsure what you should do here, and so you do the safe thing, you pull it down and run it versus taking a chance because you're scared you're going to throw a pick, then you're scared. You can word it any way you want to.
Right.
And you know what causes tentativeness on the football field? When you're unsure of what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
It causes hesitation. I can speak from personal experience. My freshman year at East Carolina, I just did not know the system. I was not very confident and caused hesitation. And
if he don't know the system by now, he ain't never going to know it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
this is scary.
This is year 4, and I mean, so that definitely concerns you a little bit. But hey, we're just gonna have to let this thing play out. I think it might be good for him to kind of sit back this week and give Flynn an opportunity.
By the way, guys, I was going to mention too that do you remember when we had Morgan Ehlers? He talked about for the preseason show we had for college football. He alluded to the fact that we were going to have growing pains this year. And we've already talked about it as the season goes on, just like Matt and Bubba's talked about it, the equivalent of the 97 season. We had that great 8-3 team in 96 that should have gone to a bowl game. That's another show, as they say. But in 97, you guys were off to a rough start, but you guys started to pull away, and you ended up with a 5-6 year, right? Off the top of my head.
Played NC State for bowl eligibility the last game of the regular season.
Yep.
So you
Torrey Hope beat us.
Yeah, you guys had the lead in that game late, and then that was another game where we led late and kind of let them get away from us. Speaking of a similar game, not similar in terms of the way the game played, but Pirates led in the fourth quarter in that game, ended up losing by 2 touchdowns. Good memory there for you, Matt, I'm sure.
Thanks for bringing it up. I tried to forget it.
Yeah, I was going to say something before we got off on that tangent, and it's totally slipped my mind. When do you guys talk maybe to come back to me?
While we have a chance, guys, not to be on a somber note, I do want to give a shout out to everybody in New York. The 22nd anniversary of 9/11 is tomorrow. I had a chance to go up there after 9/11 twice. Had the honor with a North Carolina Baptist men. We clean apartments near Ground Zero. So, Matt, when I come up there to see you, I'm going to talk to you off there about that. I definitely have to go to there to see the memorial there for 9/11 because it was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, and proud to be an American. And just want to give a shout out to the folks in New York tomorrow. We're thinking about you for sure.
Yeah. If anybody hasn't been to the memorial, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. They did a tremendous job with that. And it's one of those things that it's like incredibly depressing when you're there, but at the same time, you kind of have to see it. So I definitely I recommend that if anybody's visiting New York, you check out the 9/11 Memorial because it's obviously an important part of our history and something we need to remember.
Speaking of somber, something that I think needs to be mentioned here on this podcast. Dave used to do a podcast racing with Mike Ray, was part of the Sports Objective Podcast Network. Mike Ray has made it public on Facebook that he has terminal lung cancer. So thoughts and prayers to Mike Ray. Dave, we don't need to get with you off the air. I don't know if you've seen some of Mike's posts, but we'll get with you off the air. But thoughts and prayers with Mike Ray.
Yeah, I've been wanting to say I wanted to mention that. Thank you, Kyle, for doing that. He's a close friend. It's been very difficult to I guess I don't know if the word accept is the right word, but we're very good friends. And I know, Kyle, you all the way back to East Carolina Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I've known Mike since I was a teenager.
The 90s. And so anyway, we lost Miss Hot Rod over a year ago, Christmas of 21, I guess it was. Yeah.
That was Mike's wife.
Yeah, Mike's wife, Sandra. And unfortunately, we've had a really tough time with doing shows, not to get too deep in the weeds, but just say a big prayer for him. He has to pretty much have a nurse with him now all the time. And so we'll keep our thoughts and prayers with him. And certainly we appreciate all the support that the racing community has given him. And we do a show. It's called Talking Racing with Mike Ray. And hopefully one of these days we can do it again. It'll be fantastic. But
and I'm sure something that Miss Hot Rod and Mike Ray would tell you themselves right now. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't, but I'll tell you on their behalf. Throw those cigarettes down. If you smoke,
please
throw those cigarettes down.
Yeah, they definitely would. And it's really hard. In fact, my children are seeing the effects of one of their grandfathers, their mom's dad, and then now with the situation, they know Mike as well. So we'll pray really hard for him and pray for certainly peace and any kind of comfort for him, and just be thinking about him as he's part of our family. So for sure. And guys, Matt, did you have anything?
I had one more thing, guys. There was a video that circulated today from the Marshall game. Mason looked like he ran a quarterback draw, and he went down, and one of the Marshall players, I don't know if you guys saw this, stomped on his foot, on his ankle.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Check that out. A dirty play.
Wow.
If you see it, I don't know if any of our listeners had a chance to see that video circulating, but absolute cheap shot. That dude should be Monica. Is that what Monica's saying there? Yep, number 5. Thanks, Monica. That should be. We should send that into the NCAA. There's no place for that. Mason's lucky he didn't break his ankle there.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I did not see that during the game. I have not seen the video today, but no, there's no place for that in college football or any level of football. That's dirty. That player is a piece of shit. I can tell you this: I bet Mason wouldn't be scared to fight him. Let's let
He's a
big
dude.
old Mason Garcia, number 5, go 1-on-1 in a fair fight and see if he can't get that stomp back.
Yeah.
I
Wait
know,
till you
Kyle.
see the video, man. Wait until you see the video. I mean,
Matt, where on social media was that? We'll try to tweet that out. But
I saw
a couple people
it.
asking.
I saw it on Twitter earlier. Maybe one of our listeners can forward it.
Yeah, if y'all can share it with the at the Sports Objective. It's I'm sorry, for Twitter on X now. I'm sorry, it's always been at the Sports OBJ is our X handle.
It's so ridiculous. I get notifications from X and it says X, formerly Twitter. Well, if you're having to identify yourself still, why did you change your name anyway?
That was really stupid. Okay. Brad Williams says our good friend Steven Igo from Hoist of Colors has it on Twitter, so you can check it out there. But anyway, do you guys have anything? I know we're at 2 hours, but did you have any thoughts about any other college football games or anything?
A lot of interesting scores. A lot of interesting scores yesterday. You never know what can happen in a football game, particularly a rivalry game. You figure App's going to be fired up to play us, getting ECU in their house. They just lost to North Carolina in a close one.
2 years in a row.
Maybe they come out flat because they just lost to Carolina. Who knows? But you never know what can happen in a college football game. That's why you play the game. You don't feel good about what happened. You don't feel good going into this game at all. You feel like App's going to blow you out, but you never know what can happen in a college football game. There was a lot of upsets yesterday. Week before last, Northern Illinois beat Boston College, and last night they lost to Southern Illinois, an FCS school. So a lot of things can happen from week to week in college football, so you never know. So I would just advise everybody, the criticism is just, and we've been just as critical as anybody else, and I do not expect us to beat App, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, guys. It's the inconsistency of this program. Matt and Bubba, I wanted to say, I'm glad you said that again, Kyle. The inconsistency of this program, maybe they get up for the game. The reason I wanted the Marshall game was I feel like both games are 50-50 games. The fact that Marshall is home, we would have more of a chance than on the road against App. But do you guys see that scenario of maybe they can put some stuff together and go up there and beat App?
I think it would be an emotionally drawn. You just playing. You're just doing it because you're desperate. You feel like you need to win, and you're up because it's a rivalry game. The crowd's going to be loud. The crowd is going to be on these guys. Maybe that motivates them. The fact that the App crowd maybe they need that to be in that environment.
Right.
The Michigan crowd was loud, but the Michigan crowd didn't give a damn about ECU. This crowd is going to be on this football team. Now, this football team is very fragile, so they may collapse under that kind of pressure. But then again, it may be exactly what they need to get them to play their best football. Who knows?
Yep, to shock them. Yep, wake them up. Right,
Matt,
Bubba?
how did you and Bubba both? How did you guys react when you would play in a truly hostile environment?
Bubba, you go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I think it was something that you certainly look forward to as a player, as opposed to an environment where you had no atmosphere like a UAB back in the day when Matt was playing, or something of that nature. I guess actually Matt never played UAB. It was right after Matt finished up, but yes, a UAB or Tulane in the Superdome back before they built Ullman Stadium, something like that is definitely more challenging to play in a way, because when you're playing in that hostile environment, as long as you're prepared and from a communication standpoint, you look forward to it, and it probably makes you lock in and focus a little more because you have to.
Yeah, I actually think I enjoyed it more sometimes than home games. Like, to me, the most fun thing in the world was going on the road, places like Tennessee and Miami and Auburn,
South Carolina.
Oh my God, it was the best. And like
80,000 people and shocking them.
Yeah, I mean, I would love when people would, curse at you and yell at you and call you names. Like, I would laugh and yell back at them. I thought it was hilarious, and just have fun with it. Like, that's kind of the out of state. Like, if you get too uptight about that stuff, it doesn't serve you well. And I mean, I was fortunate to be on some incredible teams with some awesome players. But I mean, that was the best. There's nothing better than that.
Hey, Matt, was there a game where you guys were saying, I know there's some high school football rivalries we're not going to get into all of that, but there's high school rivalries that go on that's kind of scary. You have to run to the bus because people may be throwing, I don't know, I'm just making this up, but like to the point where they're throwing rocks or something crazy outrageous. Did you ever have anything?
West Virginia, Matt, you ever get a battery thrown at you?
West Virginia did throw things at us.
Wow.
There was a
96
Pepsi can. Yeah, I think there was a Pepsi can. NC State, my very last game we talked about before, the Torrey Holt tunnel screenplay. I had something thrown at my face that day.
Wow. Hey, Carter Finley?
Now,
Yeah.
Matt,
That would never happen. That would never happen at Carter Finley.
But the best was at Southern Miss because their bleachers. Kyle, you can talk to your buddy about this.
Oh, they're right. The rock, it is right on top of the field.
Oh, right on top of you, and they would call you every name in the book, and they got on me pretty good. Probably because I wasn't playing very much that night, so I was an easy target.
What year was this? It was the 95 fake field goal game.
I think it was like my freshman year. Yeah,
95 fake field goal game. Yeah.
Yeah. But they called me every name in the book. I had a blast with it.
We won that game.
Yeah.
Monica says about when we beat Miami.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 96. You were part of that. You weren't part of the 99. You were part of the 96 down there.
That was so much fun.
31-6, right?
Nix was the worst. Are you referring to Derek Nix or Tyrone Nix? Monica says Nix was the worst. I'm assuming she's talking about Southern Miss. There was Derek Nix and Tyrone Nix.
Yeah, running back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
One was a defensive player. One was a running back.
Derek.
Yeah.
Derek.
Derek was defensive. Tyrone Nix was a running. I believe that's right. Which one was the defensive coordinator? Coached with JT a little while.
I'm mixing up my Nixes now. I have to check. Where's James when you need him?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of them was a running back. The other one was a defensive player, and ended up being a defensive coordinator for a while. I don't know where that Nix is now. The one that was the defensive coordinator that was co-defensive coordinator with JT at South Carolina briefly.
Wow.
Kind of a very quick.
She said
funny
Derek
story.
Nix.
I think the story. Yeah, he said Derek Nix taunted us at our stadium. But I think this story goes back several years before Derek Nix. But I want to say this was maybe 92 when Southern Miss beat us badly, something like 38-21 on a Thursday night in Coach Logan's first year. And Southern Miss was in their team huddle in the end zone before they went to the locker room after the game. And they all said, Eagles done kicked their ass. That's what they broke it down on.
Well, you know what? I respect USM.
And I didn't take exception to that. Me and my dad, we actually thought it was pretty cool, other than the fact that it went against the Pirates.
Yeah, I a lot of respect for USM football program. Not a good performance last night against Florida State. We don't think anybody would have a good performance against Florida State these days.
Yeah.
But love to be playing those guys again at some point, whether it's non-conference or if we end up in the same conference again at some point. Would love to be playing the Golden Eagles again. That would be a lot more fun than playing the likes of Rice and Charlotte.
Hey, Matt.
By the way, did you guys see Charlotte last night on NBC in primetime against Maryland? Which, by the way, what a ridiculous game to choose to have as primetime on NBC. Charlotte and Maryland.
It was supposed to be Peacock, so they must have moved it. It was supposed to be the Peacock.
That game was NBC primetime for a while. I remember when they announced it back in the summer. So it was their coach, and they played respectable in that game. In all honesty, I don't know how seriously Maryland took them, and Maryland certainly put it away late. But Charlotte played respectable. But their head coach, if I was their AD, I would not tolerate that man literally wearing a cutoff T-shirt, showing his armpits and man boobs on the sideline. It is ridiculous looking.
That guy is he's got the best name ever, Matt, for his personality. Biff.
Biff the cable guy.
It's Charlotte may beat our ass. God Almighty if they do. Oof. But it just, and I'm not saying the guy can't coach, because it was a respectable performance in year one against a Big Ten opponent.
Yeah, just a preference thing.
Yes, exactly. But he looks ridiculous. I don't know if he's doing it to try to get attention for the program, or
No,
if
that's just him.
he's just a complete lunatic. But I don't know how their AD. I would say, look, man, if you want to be casual, that's fine. And he wears shorts. Wear a pair of khaki pants and a t-shirt. And that's all.
Yeah,
I'm done with
Monica, instead of his mesh shorts, he needs to break out some of John Daly's loudmouth golf.
Oh yeah,
some of those shorts or pants to go along with the cutoff t-shirt.
Yeah, if I'm their AD, I'm saying, Biff, look, you're going to wear khaki pants and a Charlotte 49ers t-shirt. No more of this cutoff. The NCAA, look, I'm begging you, NCAA, you like to do dumb stuff. Please pass a rule right now where coaches have to wear sleeves, short sleeves on the sideline. They can't wear cutoff shirts that show their man boobs on the sideline. Please make
have
that a
dress
rule.
code. Yeah, we need a dress code, because that.
No, we didn't until now.
That's what I'm saying is that's the reason why we need one, is because there's always one in every crowd. I'm not a fan of his, and I do like the fact that.
And I'm not making fun of having man boobs. I got them. I'm talking about showing them willingly.
That's what I'm talking about. Is that's unnecessary. But anyway,
I'm old school. I love the days
dress up
way back when like you had Tom Landry and a
fedora,
full, a suit and a fedora. Man, I don't know. That just I always liked that, but I know those days are long gone, unfortunately. But there was something cool about that, seeing a coach in a suit and a tie on the sideline, I thought.
Yeah, I don't think you have to
Dick
go that
coaching
far.
the Bears.
Who was that?
I was talking about Mike Ditka.
Daka?
Yeah, Mike Ditka wearing the wearing the tie and the Bears sweater.
The Bears. Yeah. You know what I find is just a tremendous look is wearing a 3/4 zip sports, like starter type jacket.
Who would have done that
with a shirt and tie? I think
the Scotty Moe look.
I think a 3/4 zip, athletic jacket with a shirt and tie is always a great look.
Yeah, he won. And by the way, he won a lot of games for us. 9 games in 3 years. That's fantastic.
No, he's horrible. I heard somebody trying to compare him to Mike Houston just because of so far this year. It's the most comical thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, Mike Houston won a national championship at James Madison. He played for a national championship at Lenoir-Rhyne. He's had an 8-win season here. Let's not completely lose our minds and start comparing him to Scotty Montgomery.
No, and I've heard, by the way, guys, I heard this and I was about to lose my mind when people were comparing the offense we're seeing to John Thompson. I said, no, we're not in the John Thompson era, thank God. And you know what?
I don't know. Offensively, we're just as bad as we were with Desmond Robinson and
look, we've only had 2 games. Everybody hold your breath. It will turn out. It's a slow start, I give you, but I do believe they're going to turn this thing around. By the way, Elliot says, can you ask Kyle what he meant about Coach Houston coming here to leave and go to the SEC? He's talking about the 5th quarter call you had last night, Kyle.
What I meant was
not prepared, right?
What I meant was, if you look at his track record, he was at Lenoir-Rhyne 3 years. He was at the Citadel 2 years. He was at JMU 3 years. He's clearly a ladder climber, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to climb the ladder and coaching the SEC. But I really believe last year, with what all we had coming back, he thought we were going to compete for a conference championship and win 10 or 11 games. And we came close. If you win NC State Navy. Yeah, I think he thought last year he would be out of here. He would have an SEC or an ACC job. Maybe that Georgia Tech job. Maybe they would have came calling. Just an example. If he'd have won a couple more games. And I really believe he did not prepare from a recruiting standpoint, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, to be here next year or this year. I really don't think he thought he would be here this year. That's what I meant by that. I'm quite sure he would say, he had one focus, and that was to be the head coach of East Carolina, and he's recruited as hard as he could, and maybe he has. But I'm just telling you, based on track record, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think he thought he was going to be onto a Power 5 job after last year, and he didn't quite win enough games to get that done.
Hey, by the way, Alan Vick, our good friend, said ECU fans keep orthopedic doctors in business, breaking ankles, jumping on and off the bandwagon.
No, look,
Exactly.
it's okay for people to be upset and mad and expect better out of this football program, particularly in year 5 under Mike Houston. But you got to keep things in perspective. I saw a post today that was just a rambling, incoherent mess from
Oh, I
somebody
saw that.
saying it was the death of pirate football and college football and blah 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 blah
I don't know
blah.
what, yeah.
And just calm down, people. Look, even if we go 0-12 this year, you know what we'll do? We'll fire Mike Houston and we'll hire a different coach. And by the way, not for nothing, I texted you guys earlier. If you guys will look back, and I mentioned the coach and said and said watch people are going to start calling for him if they have any success. And somebody's already mentioned him tonight on the show. I won't say who it is, the coach, because I don't want to get anything started yet. But just think about the calls we've had tonight, and think about a text I sent earlier. And you're going to hear more and more of that if we keep losing.
All right. Well, we're gonna about wrap things up, Bub. I know that you've got to get up early, so what about the? I know we got some great content coming up. Of course, our Pirate preview will be on Tuesday, but you guys have another great show tomorrow night, right? 2 great shows.
Yeah, and tomorrow night we'll have Absolute Empowerment with Coach Jeff Connors, and he'll have Matt Semenza on talking about
Who?
who, but he'll have Matt on talking a variety of topics. And
Matty
then, tomorrow night at 7 or 7:30, Coach Connors has some obligations in Raleigh tomorrow afternoon, but 7 or 7:30 they'll be live on YouTube and Facebook, and then we'll also have episode 3, The Coach's Kid, following that. Ted Pardee, son of Jack Pardee, very nice enough to join us from LA.
Are we going to do this one live, Bubba?
Yeah, we're gonna be live on episode 3 of The Coach's Kid, and
that's cool.
Yep. So had not had a chance to record anything for tomorrow night, so able to get Ted on the show and figure we go ahead and do it live. So folks, whether they were whether they wanted to ask something perhaps about the Junction Boys
his dad was
Ted maybe had talked to his dad about, because he was a Junction Boy for Bear Bryant,
Texas A&M.
Yep, back in the 50s, and then went on to coach for obviously the Redskins and the Chicago Bears, and among others, and it was the head coach at the University of Houston when they put 95 points on SMU when SMU was feeling the effects of the death penalty. So
Jack Pardee is another interesting fact that we'll bring up tomorrow night on the show. The only coach to be a head coach at Division I college football, the NFL, the USFL, the World Football League, and the Canadian Football League.
Yep.
That's right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he did it well at every level. I my first, I was born in 1981. My first memories and knowledge of Jack Pardee came when he was guiding the Houston Oilers. Really, I guess the Houston Cougars. Then he left to take that, moved on to the Houston Oilers, and everything he had going on there with Warren Moon and their excellent offenses. And with that run and shoot approach,
he was way ahead of his time.
Yeah, I mean, he really was. And then, like Dave mentioned, on Tuesday, our Pirate preview, we'll have either Adam Witten, play-by-play voice from App State, or one of the guys from perhaps Big C from the App State podcast, which is on the Black and Gold podcast. So they do an excellent job of covering the Mountaineers, and we'll have a good preview of this weekend's game on Tuesday. Then, of course, Sonny and Semenza on Wednesday night with some Week 3 picks. Just Another Sports Podcast. And Kyle, you and Stevie, what do you guys have planned for this week?
We're going to have Terry Gallagher on, a friend of the podcast here. Terry, one of the greatest wide receivers statistically in ECU history, played for Pat Dye back in the 70s, had a cup of coffee in the CFL. He set a record for yards per reception against Appalachian State back in the 70s. He had 3 receptions for 218 yards.
Yeah.
And so as crazy as that sounds, we will have Terry Gallagher on to talk his memories of playing up in Boone against Appalachian State. And we'll preview the App State game in general. And we always have a top 5. We have not come up with our top 5 for this week, but if anybody has any suggestions, the top 5 you want to see, East Carolina college football related, can be serious, can be not serious, can be fun. But if you have a suggestion, let us know. But we'll have some sort of top 5 for everybody to look forward to this week. We just haven't decided yet, along with Terry Gallagher.
Dude, how is that? I'm thinking about this for a second. 3 receptions for 218 yards.
So
Wow.
Matt, think
that's
our
unbelievable.
offense during the time.
Yeah.
Think about Navy nowadays. How most shots, when they're throwing the football, their best shots are off play action and throwing the deep ball.
Okay.
So that's
maybe we should try that based on what we've been doing.
The Pirates are running the wishbone, and so what we'll see exactly from Terry, but that's my guess is that they were deep shots off of play action from that wishbone.
I think
really cool stat. That is a really cool stat. It's unusual. Like you never hear 3 receptions for. I would say he's probably the only guy in the history of football to have 3 receptions for 218 yards.
I think it's still an NCAA record.
Unbelievable.
It's definitely EC record for sure. I don't know about.
It's a beautiful sunny day in Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah,
it's even better if we win for sure. Guys,
by the way, speaking of that, the weather for Saturday in Boone, as of right now, it's supposed to be sunny, 68 degrees, overnight low in the 40s. So I gotta love the high country of North Carolina. It's the most beautiful place in the state, that Boone Blowing Rock area. So if you're going up there, enjoy it. I chose to wait to go in October for my birthday to see the fall colors, so I won't be there for the game. But everybody enjoy it. Hopefully, we'll pull off the upset.
No doubt. We'll look. We'll hope everybody has a great week. Please stay out of the panic room as we're only 2 games into it. I know we're all upset. We're going to have a great week, and let's stay positive definitely as long as we can. You guys have anything as we wrap things up? Final thoughts?
I think we've said it all.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. Appreciate all the callers, viewers, listeners. Thank you so much. And by the way, before we go, I want to give a shout out to L&K Custom Homes. They present this great show, the Pirates Playback. Kevin Walker, you can give him a call. He's a licensed general contractor, one of the best players to ever be on the purple and gold, and he still supports the program and supports us for several years now. L&K Custom Homes. Give Kev a call, KK a call right now. Well, maybe not right now, but
you know what, Dave? I don't mean to cut you off here, but I don't want to end it on this. There is something I forgot, and then we'll do this close here, and you can promote KK and L&K Custom Homes, because I don't want to associate him with this. But there is something I've been meaning to mention this whole show, and I can't believe the game. What happened yesterday just made me forget about it, but it was really on my mind. I won't say where. I'll do this delicately, but I just want to say this. So if this person hears this, they'll know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say where, but there's a place in Greenville I've been doing business with for several years. And we'll continue to do business with them because of the establishment. And the establishment I won't mention out of respect for the establishment. But this person was extremely rude to me after I've been a loyal customer since 2005 with this place. And I spend money with them out of the goodness of my heart because I appreciate what this place does and what this place is. But I don't appreciate the way this person talked to me via email when I communicated a displeasure I had with them. So I won't name the business out of respect for the business, but not for the person. But I just want to remind this person, if they happen to hear this, you never know who you're talking to and who may have a platform. So think about that before you respond to people so bluntly and rudely. I could be calling you out right now, but because of where you work, I won't. But I hope you hear this.
All right, there you go. So that person should know who you're talking about. Again, our great Pirate Playback is brought to you by L&K Custom Homes. Kevin Walker, one of the best, as I said, to ever put on a uniform for the purple and gold. He's a licensed general contractor. If you don't believe how great he is, then look at Facebook. I'm telling you the great work he does. He's awesome. Don't take my word for it. Look there. 336-688-8461. Again, 336-688-8461. Thank you so much for listening and watching the Pirate Football Playback. It's every Sunday night right here on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.